A time of rising scarlet fever infections in Britain as well. And some in the UK are theorising that both are spreading because during COVID-19 lockdowns, people's immunity to viruses was lowered. Dr. Jim McManus of the UK's Association of Public Health Directors disagrees and fears Strep A is about to become as politicised as COVID before it.
We need to remember that actually Strep A is very contagious. It's been around for a while. We had quite high peaks in 2016 and again in 2017. People talk about immunity debt, and I don't like that term because it's often used by people who want to say COVID lockdowns and COVID restrictions damaged our immune systems and we should just be able to be exposed to everything. That's junk. It really is junk science.
Doctors say parents should get in touch if their children exhibit a high fever, severe muscle pains, or a persistent rash and ongoing listlessness. Strep A is treatable with antibiotics. Early detection is key. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he does not intend to strike first with nuclear weapons. It comes as a UN report shows that at least 441 civilians were killed by Russian troops at the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine. Dozens of suspected domestic terrorists have been arrested in a major police operation in Germany, and more classified documents belonging to the US government have been found at properties belonging to Donald Trump. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
Crammed into tiny bar stools, cramped diner booths, and filthy cars where moving their limbs is either uncomfortable or impossible, hundreds of thousands of consumers rip apart chicken wings or tear off bites of Heroes and hamburgers every single day, often to the point of bloating, belching, and outright physical pain. Barbecue sauce or hamburger juice will literally dribble down these poor beasts' mouths and onto their shirts, their beards thick with pungent grease. Treated as little more than machines to be stuffed full of smoked pork, marinated chicken, and dry-aged beef, consumers are forced to wait in long lines, often while still fully conscious, before buying their meat and ripping it off the bone with their mouths in plain view of other consumers. The majority of meat consumers are often prodded to ingest vastly more than their bodies can handle thanks to cruel promotions like 25-cent wing nights and family-sized buckets of chicken. Help stop the brutality by visiting.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
Welcome to Free Talk Live. The phones are open. If you want to join us, you can do that here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And you can, of course, bring up absolutely anything that happens to be on your mind. That is kind of what we do here on Free Talk Live. Aria, unfortunately, is not feeling well today, so I'll be sitting in for her on what was day number 2. And it was really like the first real day. I mean, they had opening statements yesterday, but today was the first day of witnesses taking the stand in the Crypto 6 trial, of which I am the last remaining defendant.
The Crypto 1?
Yep, that's right. The Crypto Uno. And there's not a really good name. Crypto 1 doesn't have the same ring.
Yeah, no.
So I'm still just calling it Crypto 6. We were calling it like the Crypto Duo when it was me and Aria that were the only two left. But anyway, with you here tonight, it's Ian,
Nikki,
and Bonnie.
Of course, you can absolutely bring up anything you want to discuss. Coming up here tonight, there's a story, Nikki, you have about Canada possibly going to be jailing doctors for so-called misinformation. That's going to be on the way at some point here. Bonnie, you've got a story about the Department of Defense that is, well, apparently missing a lot of money.
And apparently it's never been not missing money.
That's true. Yeah, this is
not surprised.
Yeah, this is an ongoing scandal that just never stops, basically. And we had somebody call in last night about it was Ukraine, and they've gotten 90 billion taxpayer dollars so far this year. And of course, they can't account for it either.
Wow.
And that's just generally true when it comes to foreign aid.
We need the federal government to stop money laundering.
That's what they're trying to say in the Crypto 6 case. Of course, you were in court all day today watching the shenanigans going on. We can talk about all of that, of course. Again, the phones are open here at 603-283-6160. In fact, I did pull up the CoinDesk article that was published yesterday about this, which I'm really happy to finally see a crypto news publication besides news.bitcoin.com, who has talked about the Crypto 6 case on a couple of occasions in the last 2 years. But for the most part,
well, and Coin Fugazi.
True. I'm talking more about print media, if you will, like written media.
No, he interviewed me like a print media Coin Fugazi article when you were in jail.
I was not aware about that. I knew he did a podcast recently and he had me on, and so that's a recent thing as well. But CoinDesk actually has a reporter attending the trial. So there's somebody in there, reporting on the trial. So thank you to CoinDesk for the coverage there. Of course, other media apparently has covered it as well, including the New Hampshire Union Leader, the Keene Sentinel, which has locked their article behind a paywall. And I heard a rumor that there's an AP piece that's been going around as well, but I haven't seen that one yet. But if you want to comment on anything that's on your mind, you can join us. Should we start with Crypto 6, Bonnie, and then get into the Department of Defense?
Sure.
All right. So let me just share the story from yesterday here. This is Cheyenne Ligon. She is from CoinDesk. Headline, Early Bitcoin Pioneer Ian Freeman goes to trial in New Hampshire. Freeman's facing 8 counts related to tax evasion and operating an unlicensed money transmitting business. Federal prosecutors say early Bitcoin pioneer and libertarian activist Ian Freeman and a group of his associates helped scammers and other criminals launder more than $10 million using Bitcoin through a network of Bitcoin vending machines and in-person and virtual cash for Bitcoin trades from 2016 until their arrests in 2021. Freeman is standing...
Did they even really technically allege that you helped them? Because, that implies that you were, knowledgeable of it and, went... and wanted to do it, because I don't even know if that's what they're alleging. Because
that's specifically what they're alleging during the trial. That's one of the money laundering counts. They're alleging that you
looked the other way and didn't do things that could have uncovered scams.
Well, they're alleging in one of the money laundering counts, which is the conspiracy to money launder, they're saying that by being quote unquote willfully blind is what they're saying, that means that I am partnering essentially with criminals. And they're claiming willful blindness just simply means having a privacy policy. Basically, that's what this
the main thing that Georgiana McDonald was saying during the opening hammering was saying Ian Freeman's golden rule, which I'm sure he's never called it that, was I don't care what you do with your Bitcoin. Don't tell me what you do with your Bitcoin. And it's like every libertarian that was in there watching just was looking at each other like, so privacy bad?
Well, statists hate privacy.
Sure, they want to know everything about everything that you do. And that's why the Federal Reserve is looking into a CBDC, which stands for Central Bank Digital Currency, which would give them total dominion over your money. They could delete your money right out of your wallet. They would know exactly how you're spending it, when you're spending it, how much you're spending it, all of that stuff. And it would be basically a total control money system. That's what they're working on.
It's just so crazy because the Department of Defense can lose trillions of dollars, but they're super worried about what
if you make $600.
Yeah.
If you make $600, it's getting reported now, according to the new IRS rules. So Freeman's standing trial in New Hampshire this week to face, and not just this week, it's going to be.
I think it might go into Christmas.
If this ends before Christmas, I will be pleased and surprised. It is slow going so far. Maybe they put the slowest witness on first, but the one witness today took, 6 hours?
What?
Yeah,
I just can't imagine what takes so long. What are they?
6 hours of the most boring part of the day. I seriously thought it was going to melt into the pew.
Yeah, unfortunately, you have to sit on pews.
And it seriously hurts my butt and my legs, and Joe's leg fell asleep today.
Yeah.
Should bring in a cushion.
I am thinking about that because there was a lady that did
lumbar support.
I would think they'd have to let you.
They let an older lady that was supporting during the hearings bring in her cushion.
Freeman and his group of associates, who've been collectively dubbed the Crypto 6, were arrested in a raid in March of 2021. 4 of them, including Freeman's fellow radio host Aria DiMezzo, his former girlfriend Renee Spinella, and her husband Andrew, and nobody, formerly Richard Paul, have taken plea deals. Though DiMezzo is not set to be sentenced until later this month, that's actually going to happen in January now. The other 3 defendants escaped with relatively lenient sentences. Yeah, I guess if you consider
as a felony.
Yeah, lenient. Okay.
I mean, they didn't
go
to prison, so it's not the worst sentence in the world, but it is still, they are saddled as federal felons for the rest of their lives.
It's just crazy because a felony for someone who didn't do anything wrong.
That's correct.
Didn't have any victim, and the prosecution never even alleged they did.
The prosecution alleges that the victims were the banks.
But there was no loss.
But there was no...
so that makes them not a victim.
Right. No restitution was owed because the banks lost zero.
Yeah.
The banks gained from the transactions with the Crypto 6. Freeman, the host of Free Talk Live radio show and a one-time member of the Libertarian Migration Movement, the Free State Project, has maintained his innocence and has described the charges against him as politically motivated and the trial as a sham. Freeman's trial...
I don't think you're a one-time member of the Freedom Migration. I'm pretty sure you've never...
Well, I did resign from the
Free State Project, but you're still part of the Freedom Migration.
That's true. It comes approximately a year and a half after his residence was raided in the middle of the night by the FBI. In March of 2021, gun-wielding agents surrounded the Keene, New Hampshire home, crashing through a first-floor window with an armored car. Well, not quite. They smashed the windows out and then flew in a drone. The armored car couldn't quite make it to that positioning. But they did bust in the next door, your door, Nikki. You didn't live there at the time, but they did bust in that door with a Bearcat, which had a battering ram attached to it. So
the true happened. Criminals in this situation, the only people that actually caused harm to anyone at all, was the feds.
And they seized a bunch of stuff, as they point out here, 180 grand in cash, coins and bars made of precious metals, and 2 physical Casasius Bitcoins worth a combined 101 Bitcoins. Agents also seized several Bitcoin kiosks owned by Freeman from restaurants and other local businesses. During their opening statements Tuesday, prosecutors told the New Hampshire jury Freeman was the ringleader of the illegal crypto selling business. They said Freeman began by installing several Bitcoin kiosks, which have been described as distinct from Bitcoin ATMs due to their local wallets, throughout the state of New Hampshire, and then eventually branched out into advertising for in-person and virtual cash for Bitcoin trades on websites like localbitcoins.com. Freeman didn't ask a lot of questions, said the prosecutors, of his customers, but the charged his customers a premium, usually between 10 and 15%, for their privacy. Assistant U.S. Attorney Georgiana McDonald described Freeman's golden rule of telling his customers what you do with your business or your Bitcoins is your business and not to give him more information.
She kept saying that anything you heard was a red flag.
There's more coming up. It's Free Talk Live. Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here. All you have to do is dial in. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And I want to say thank you to Robbie, who's a Free Talk Live supporter of our AMPS program. Robbie has joined at the silver level, which is all we ask. We only ask $5 a month. That's what he's doing there. So thank you, Robbie, for that. You get some perks. You get some bennies for signing up there. And one of those perks is access to the AMP-only podcast, which has the full radio show. Sorry, I can't hold it together with that dog looking so silly. If you haven't seen Coconut, he is on our cams. You can check him out at cams.freetalklive.com. Anyway, so check out amps.freetalklive.com and you can get signed up there, and you get the podcast as one of the perks, which has the full radio show without the commercials, the radio commercials. So that's one of the perks. You can get all of them over at amps.freetalklive.com. So we're sharing some news about, well, ourselves, basically, the Crypto 6, which included some of the hosts of this show, including me.
Yeah, don't include me and Nikki in that.
Well, you guys are, I mean, at the very least, Bonnie, you're kind of in the news. You're on video on WMUR from their report the other day. And
really?
You've been in the courtroom for the last couple of days. So you're definitely participating in this whole trial process. Our very own TJ was interviewed by WMUR. And
he wasn't TJ.
Their report.
He was Mr. Bitcoin.
No, he wasn't in the outfit, unfortunately.
But there is a picture.
That would have been funny, though.
Yeah.
There's a picture of him in the outfit on something.
It's in this article we're reading here tonight, which is the CoinDesk article. Yeah, they got a nice picture of Mr. Bitcoin sitting right out, or standing right out in front of the Concord Federal Court Church there in New Hampshire. And the only thing that would have made it better is if there was like a group photo with a bunch of people and Mr. Bitcoin.
That could probably be done soon.
Yeah, I don't think we've had the group photo yet, so I hope that happens, because apparently there were, I looked behind myself at one point while I was in court today, and I did notice that it seemed like every one of the Crypto 6 supporters today had Crypto 6 t-shirts on.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was pretty cool.
There was 8 people at one time in the courtroom today, so like the jury is straight up looking directly at us like, what does that mean? You know, it's like holding a sign, but they can't say anything.
They did.
I thought they would.
I think they could.
I don't know if
they
can, but they didn't. Yeah. So I thought that was nice. It's not like we're gonna do it every day. Like, can't just wear the same shirt every day, but it was pretty cool. And Rob from Vermont, frequent caller, he came and he wore just like a regular Bitcoin shirt the first day, which was nice.
So again, you can join the show here. Let's go to the phones. We got Major Payne on the line in Michigan. Go ahead, Major.
Yeah, Ian. They did it to me again. I think this is the third go-around I've had with COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but I'm going to use this opportunity to poke fun at China, as I believe they're the dirty dogs in the pack.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about the 4 Tibetan monks? Sounds like the opening line to a joke.
Yeah, it does.
But,
I thought it was.
No. They shut down the Buddhist temple because all the monks failed a drug test and tested positive for meth.
I did.
Oh, I heard about this.
Where?
Yeah, I heard about it from Captain. I think actually Captain and Nikki and Richie did a show where they're maybe.
We were. I think Arya brought it in last Wednesday, but I don't think we actually got to talk about it.
But where did this happen?
Tibet.
In Tibet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they shut down the church.
And it's like a big deal to their community. The community is like, we're upset because we have this Christmas tradition where we bring the monks dinner for Christmas or something. It's not Christmas. I don't know what it is.
Crazy because monks are supposed to be, super spiritual, meditating,
not doing math.
Dry. Not doing math, exactly.
When you think about spiritual experiences.
Who administered the test? Who administered the test? China wants to control every damn thing.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. Like, how did they? Was it the police that shut it down, or was it the monk organization?
I was gonna say maybe they have like a head monk, and he was like suspicious, and he was like, "You guys are getting tested for meth. You haven't been eating."
Do you know, Major Payne, how this transpired?
I do not. I just heard a quick news blip on the radio, and I thought it was worth mentioning. So,
all right, man. Thanks for the call tonight.
Hope
I appreciate
you get better.
it. Yeah, indeed. Get well soon. The number 603-283-6160. So back to the story at Coindesk.com. This was written yesterday, so it's not the same woman was in the court today. So I presume there's going to be a follow-up piece, but they're going through some of the allegations at the opening statements. And U.S. Attorney Georgiana McDonald described Freeman's so-called golden rule of telling his customers that, quote, what you do with your Bitcoin is your business, unquote, and not to give him more information. McDonald said Freeman's bank accounts were often shut down, which is why he enlisted the help of his friends and colleagues, whom he asked to help him by opening bank accounts, sometimes in their own names, but also by forming religious entities. Prosecutors say that Dept, who describes herself as a transsexual Satanist anarchist while running as a Republican candidate for Cheshire County Sheriff in 2020, opened an account for the Reformed Satanic Church, and nobody opened another for the so-called Church of the Invisible Hand. McDonald described the churches, of which a multitude are involved in Freeman's operation, including the Shire Free Church, the entity that owns Free Talk Radio. They got that wrong. It's Free Talk Live. As little more than letterhead for Freeman's operation. Customers of Freeman's virtual cash for Bitcoin business, whom prosecutors say included scammers preying on the elderly with romance scams or Nigerian print scams, were allegedly directed to send money to one of the bank accounts associated with the Crypto 6 using descriptions like purchase of rare coins or to avoid flagging the attention of the banks. When Freeman's lawyer Mark Sisti addressed the jury during his opening statements on Tuesday, he told them that what they'd heard from McDonald was, quote, absolute nonsense, unquote.
Yep, sounds about right.
And accused the government of intentionally leaving out details that didn't benefit their case against Freeman, which is, of course, what they do, right?
Yep.
Like, they are trying to paint me to be some sort of dastardly fellow, and they can't do it like they used to, like in front of the court when I was trying to get out of jail back in May of last year. They were saying I was a
sophisticated cyber criminal.
Sophisticated cyber criminal.
I'm Kingpin.
I'm not going to forget because I'm getting a T-shirt with it.
A danger to the community. They said they could not possibly let me
so
out of
ridiculous.
jail because I would take advantage of someone in the community, apparently. and now, almost not quite 2 years later, but 18 months later or so. Now they're not saying those things publicly in front of the court.
I thought they have to tone it down because, imagine you.
Well, they dropped 17 charges last week, so that's why they've toned it down.
Definitely, but also just imagine you've been called into jury duty. You got to sit here for 2 weeks of your life. These people are wasting your time, and they're just pulling that kind of crap out of their ASS.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already doing stuff that's really similar, but it's in that case, they were just, all they had to convince was a judge.
Correct. And now when our side asked for them to remove the spyware that they had installed on my laptop and phone last week, the prosecution had no objection. So I've gone from being an absolute danger to the community who could not possibly be released from jail without the most restrictive bail conditions to, oh yeah, it's fine. We don't need to really watch him.
Yeah, like specifically internet restrictions. Like if he gets loose on the internet, you don't understand. It's really bad.
I think a big reason why they probably didn't want you released from jail is because during trial, it looks a lot worse if you're there from jail versus if you were already released. You've been home for months, you're dressed in nice clothes.
Yeah, well, they'll still let you dress for the trial, but you enter through the door with the jail guards.
Everyone knows what that means.
Yeah. So there's more coming up here, 603-283-6160. We got more from the CoinDesk coverage of the Crypto 6 trial. And if you want to share your thoughts. Also on the way, the Department of Defense has, never been good at keeping track of taxpayer dollars that they've received. It's Free Talk Live.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he does not intend to strike first with nuclear weapons. He said his country has not gone mad. However, accusing Western nations of making nuclear threats, the Russian leader vowed his country would defend itself with all the means at its disposal. He also admitted the war in Ukraine could be a lengthy process, suggesting an acknowledgement that the planned for swift victory has not happened. Meanwhile, a new UN report details how at least 441 civilians were killed by Russian forces in the early days of the invasion of Ukraine. A new report from the UN's Human Rights Office details summary executions and attacks in dozens of towns across Ukraine, as FSN's Jody Jacobs reports.
The scope of the new report was limited to Russian-controlled areas during the first days of fighting. While the report suggests a number of 441, the actual number of victims in Kiev, Chernihiv and Sumy regions were likely to be much higher, as the report only summarized killings from the start of the invasion until early April, when Russians withdrew from those areas. Most victims, according to the report, were targeted while commuting to work, delivering food to others, visiting neighbors or relatives. The report also classified 57 of the deaths as summary executions. According to the UN, willful killings of civilians is considered a grave breach of the Geneva Conventions.
Dozens of suspected domestic terrorists have been arrested in a major police operation in Germany. Investigators say a far-right group was plotting to storm the country's parliament and seize power. Democrat Raphael Warnock's victory in the US Senate runoff election in Georgia is more evidence of a changing political map in the United States. Senator Warnock's win over Republican Herschel Walker, his fifth victory in just over 2 years, proved that the Democratic surge in the traditional red state was no fluke, as FSN's Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
For decades, the states of Florida and Ohio have carried the most sway when it comes to crowning American presidents. But Democrat Raphael Warnock's win in the previously safe Republican state of Georgia is another indicator that the road to the presidency will take a different route in 2024. Political strategists predict Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin will be crucial to deciding who goes to the White House.
More classified documents belonging to the US government have been found at properties belonging to Donald Trump. An outside team searched 4 properties, after a federal judge ordered a search to find any more classified material. It comes after the FBI found several boxes of government documents during a search of his Mar-a-Lago property in August. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live, and the phones are open if you want to join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We want to say thanks to Bullion Max for giving our listeners a pretty awesome deal. You get their Silver Starter Kit at employee pricing, and you get a free gold back. What is the Silver Starter Kit? Well, there's a lot of people that are, I think, making the right choice with the insanity of inflation out there. What do you do about it? Well, you can take the dollars that you have and turn them into something else, like gold and silver. These are some of the most stable assets in recorded history. And people, savvy investors for a long time, have been purchasing precious metals like gold and silver. And bullionmax.com/FTL can get you their Silver Starter Kit, which is 5 ounces of silver from the world's most popular mints. And again, they're throwing in a free gold back. So we've talked a lot about the gold back here. We're big fans of it. And this gives you the excuse to not only get some really cool silver, but also experience how awesome the gold back is.
Get to see it in person.
Yep, absolutely. And feel it. It's a really awesome product. bullionmax.com/FTL. That is where you can go to invest in some precious metals, though this is a limited time offer. That's bullionmax.com/FTL. Only one per household. This might make for a nice holiday gift, too.
Me and Ian both won silverbacks.
Yeah.
You won too?
And Ari, did you win?
No.
Did you check your email?
You should check your spam.
Oh, I should.
Check your spam folder because all the winner emails went out yesterday.
Really?
Aria got one. I won.
I want one so
Bonnie
bad.
won. Did you enter the contest?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then check it out because
we're wondering if everyone
they
won.
gave
They're
away
so
10,000.
cool.
They gave away 10,000 of them. So, the odds you won are fairly
I only put in
high.
one entry.
Right, because you could put in multiple entries to
I just
increase
did
your
one.
chance. So she won with one entry, so that's pretty good.
Oh, I need to check that out.
Yeah, definitely check the spam folder on that if you entered the Bullion Max giveaway. But go to bullionmax.com/FTL and get your Silver Starter Kit. All right, so we've been talking about this news from CoinDesk, and again, thanks to them for coming out and reporting on the Crypto 6 trial. I think they're the only... currently, at least, the only crypto media that's been reporting on it. News.bitcoin.com did cover the story in advance, and maybe they're going to do another piece. I hope so. But meanwhile, they're doing a pretty detailed job here at CoinDesk, and I figured it'd be a good way to kind of recap what happened yesterday. We did it kind of off the top of our heads last night, but it's nice to take it from somebody that was sitting there making notes, even though they as usual, news media doesn't always get everything quite right, but we're here to correct the record. When that happens.
And see, it's just kind of what worries me is I know everything about this case. So, and Chris Wade knows lots of stuff about this case. So it's everything Sisti is saying so obvious to us. Yeah, right, great, he's doing great. But it's does the jury see that, or is the jury huh? What do these words mean? That's what worries me.
Well, there is going to be a learning curve for sure on this issue, and so the jury is going to have to learn about cryptocurrency, which none of them are experts on this matter. So Mark Sisti, is a very successful defense attorney here in New Hampshire. He's my attorney. And as he said the prosecution's opening statement was, quote, absolute nonsense. And he said further, just because it's the federal government and just because it's an assistant U.S. attorney saying it doesn't make it true. He told the jury, saying further, quote, just because it's an FBI investigation doesn't make it credible. Sisti described Freeman as a gentle, nonviolent man who helped victims of scams rather than perpetrating them, and had even helped with crypto-related investigations. The churches implicated in his operations are real institutions, Sisti argued, which had done things like set up an orphanage in Uganda and helped local businesses in New Hampshire set up Bitcoin payment systems. Freeman said Sisti operated his business in the open and kept records of his transactions, including pictures of his customers' driver's licenses on his computer. Quote, why would you hold on to licenses and pictures if you're scamming? You ditch that junk as quick as you could, he told the jury. It makes no sense. Sisti said Freeman often declined to do business with suspicious customers, including an undercover agent who claimed to be a heroin dealer, and they're going to be calling him probably this week. Sisti said the agent put $20,000 in one of Freeman's Bitcoin kiosks even after Freeman told him he wouldn't do business with him in person as he'd requested. McDonald told you, this is Sisti again, that he said no before this clown went to a vending machine.
Nice.
Without Freeman's permission, by the way, and dumped $20,000. What's he supposed to do? Put an armed guard in front of his vending machine?
Nice.
Sisti also pushed back against McDonald's assertions that Freeman ignored red flags in his customers and looked the other way when dealing with scammers. He referenced the case of one potential witness, a 76-year-old woman who, over 6 days, transferred her entire life savings to a romance scammer who then allegedly traded the cash for Bitcoins via Freeman, who charged a 10% fee. What bank did the little old lady use, Sisti wondered aloud to the jury, that was, quote, so highly regulated, unquote, yet misread the classic red flags of her pulling out enormous sums of money in less than a week. Show me that bank president, he said, because that guy should be sitting next to me, is what he said to them.
Nice.
Further, CoinDesk reports that in addition to the unlicensed money transmitting business charges and 2 counts of money laundering, one that applies to his entire operation and one for allegedly selling Bitcoin to the undercover agent posing as a drug dealer, which I didn't do. Freeman also faces 4 counts of tax evasion. McDonald said in her opening statement, Ian Freeman just doesn't like to pay taxes, unquote. Freeman would probably agree with her statement, though he's only being charged for attempting to evade taxes from 2016 to 2019. Freeman told New York Magazine last year he hasn't paid federal income tax since 2004. He's not alone. Libertarians as a general rule.
And it's different when you don't owe federal income tax either, but nobody's mentioning that.
Because I'm a minister, you mean?
Yeah.
Libertarians as a general rule oppose federal taxes, and the phrase taxation is theft has become something of a political meme for many. One trial attendee who introduced himself pseudonymously as Bear, you know, like the right to bear arms, he explained. And yes, he does call himself Bear Arms.
Yep, I don't know his government name. All I know is Bear Arms.
Told CoinDesk outside the courthouse that in Concord that he doesn't pay federal income taxes and, based on the wording of the U.S. Constitution, doesn't believe anyone besides government employees are subject to taxes. The question of how to get around taxes is a common one in libertarian circles, and Bitcoin, at least in its salad days before the development of sophisticated blockchain analytics and high-profile arrests of crypto criminals, was touted as a potential solution.
Sophisticated?
Many,
I think Sissy tore that apart too.
Many figures in crypto, from Shapeshift founder Eric Voorhees to Ethereum creator Vitalik Buterin, were inspired by the libertarian use case for crypto. But times are changing. As the industry has matured and grown, it has attracted the attention of both mainstream investors and regulators and has subsequently undergone a makeover.
So I guess things just become like violent when they mature. That's so stupid.
That's the suggestion, right? Yeah. New crypto, quote-unquote new crypto, is at least in appearance regulated and polished, and many leaders in the industry like Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong work hand in glove with the U.S. government. And of course, that is, as we would say in the libertarian movement, the crypto movement, is the problem. That is the problem with cryptocurrency, is so many of these people are more than happy to bend over. I wouldn't call it hand in glove. I'd call it bending over for the glove. In this case, because they love to be regulated by these government goons, and they love it because they think that if they obey, that it's going to get them more money. And they
they're selling out.
Yeah, and they might be right? Like it's that they're expecting that if they allow the regulations,
they're going to get protections. They're going to be like, we're the ones that worked with you, so we get the protection,
which obviously can never be guaranteed when you're working with the government.
Well, no, I mean, look what happened with Ripple, for instance. They tried to pander to the banking industry and do everything they could to be compliant, and the SEC sued them anyway.
Yep. There's nothing, and this is the thing I don't get, why people don't understand. You can't, the state always wins when you play their game.
For sure. They made the rules.
Yeah, so.
And they don't play by the rules.
Exactly.
They don't play by their own rules, that's for sure.
They make them and then they break them.
Exactly. So they say here Bitcoin as currency is increasingly uncommon, as is intentionally picking fights with regulators, making Freeman and those like him feel like relics of Bitcoin's crypto-anarchist past. Though they have been largely sidelined by the current iteration of the industry, crypto-libertarians like Freeman are still active, especially in libertarian strongholds, such as Keene, New Hampshire, where Free Talk Radio, it's Free Talk Live, is headquartered. Many come out to Concord to show support for Freeman, and by the way, thank you to everyone who has come out. We've seen different faces each day so far, because, you can't take 2 weeks off of work to come watch a criminal trial. There's more coming up here in moments. It's Free Talk Live. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. We're sharing some of the coverage of the Crypto 6 trial from CoinDesk, who has actually been sending a reporter there. She was there again today, so I presume they're going to do another update. So, again, thanks to them. Thanks to also to Bitcoin.com for covering the case over at news.bitcoin.com. If you want to comment, you're welcome to. And you can, of course, also bring up absolutely anything that happens to be on your mind. Coming up, we're going to get into the Department of Defense. Once again, continuing to mishandle taxpayer funds in a major way. Bonnie's got that story on the way. Plus, in Canada, according to Nikki, in the story she'll share, they may be jailing doctors soon for so-called misinformation, which used to just be known as a doctor's opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
But let's go to your phone calls and thoughts. First, we have Rob in Vermont. Go ahead, Rob.
Hey, I just wanted to say I had a great time yesterday.
Thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah, absolutely, and got out there with Chris about, I don't know, probably 7:45, and stood out there with the signs high up in the air like the Statue of Liberty, free the Crypto 6. It was
nice.
Nice.
Yeah, and got to meet a lot of the media that was there.
Mm-hmm.
MSN from Boston was there. The union leader. Channel 9 News was there. And there were some other bloggers that were there. I got to meet, Mark Sisti, and, got to go in and attend, when they were picking the jury and how the defense went through asking the questions for the jury and the prosecution. And just really interesting. I don't want to say a lot because I don't want to jinx anything, but and then Mark has got this. He's a very
Mark Sisti or Mark Edge?
Mark Sisti.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to capture what's going on and answer the right ask the right questions and everything. He's going to be very, very effective.
I think so.
And he didn't have a paper he was reading off of for his opening statements, and Georgiana did.
Oh, she did?
Yeah,
He has notes.
He would refer to it once in a while, but he didn't. When he was giving
he
the
didn't even bring up notes?
He might have had them with him,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't seem to look at them. He was looking at the jury, walking right up to them, talking directly to them, just saying what he already knew.
His notes are pretty sparse. I sit there next to him, so I watch him taking notes, and it's he's got whatever his system is, it works really well for him, and he doesn't have a whole lot of words on that page. It's just words. It's just a few words here and there, and then he just goes off.
Well, I mean, I would think that would make a good attorney, right? Someone who knows the case and doesn't need to read from a script. He's just in the moment.
And he's up against 3 attorneys who are tag teaming on this case. They don't even have full, one witness will be handled by one of the government's attorneys, and then when the next witness comes up, a different government attorney will get up to talk to that witness. So it's they're splitting up the work here on this case. And
well, I mean, if the government's paying, if the taxpayers are paying for it, why not?
And then they have also 3 assistants behind them. They're not attorneys; they're just button pressers or whatever. And or I think one of them's FBI. But so they've got they have 6 people on their side of this thing. Rob, anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be coming up there, 2, maybe 3 different times, because I want to see how this is going to play out. I already know who's going to win just from looking at the prosecution. I mean, when I saw him going down the hallway, it reminded me of seeing, the guys from Welcome Back, Carter.
You felt like they were looking, dejected or something, or losers?
Well, no, it was just, you have to. If you saw the program Welcome Back, Carter, you'd see how much of a goofball a lot of these guys are.
I haven't seen it, but...
But I'll see you up there again, brother. You can bet on that.
Thank you, Rob. I definitely appreciate the support. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks for the call
thanks
tonight.
for wearing your Bitcoin shirt.
Yep, absolutely. And thanks to everybody that has come out so far. And, if you're in the New England area and you feel like watching one of the only trials to happen in federal court in this state in 2 years, It may have
Really?
been, yeah, it might have been Chris Cantwell was the last trial up here. And I don't know for sure, right? Like I haven't seen a list of them, but my attorney told me that there hasn't been another trial in like at least a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
And it's been about 2 since Chris Cantwell went on trial. So I don't know. It doesn't happen very often because most people just take the plea deal. So these guys that are
And this is the state of New Hampshire you're talking about?
No, this is federal. State trials happen a little more often.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, this is the federal.
I thought
federal court.
you meant the only federal trial in the state of New Hampshire.
Correct, because there's only one
that's
federal court. So most states that are bigger than New Hampshire have multiple federal courts.
Yeah.
So like in Florida, there's one in Miami and there's one in Tampa. There's probably one in the north part of the state. I don't know, maybe Tallahassee or something like that. But in New Hampshire, just that one court in Concord, and they literally have not had another actual trial for a year and a half. So anyway, there's not much more here from CoinDesk on their report from yesterday. They are talking about how there was this sort of old school libertarian group of cryptocurrency users who values crypto for its actual usability to have value sent from one person to another to purchase things, for instance, at local businesses like we do here. Well, I'm not allowed to, but Bonnie and Chris and other people in this area have purchased from local business owners using cryptocurrency like Bitcoin Cash or Dash or Bitcoin BTC. The people that value that use of cryptocurrency are definitely in the minority. They're absolutely right here at CoinDesk, and that is that the industry has shifted away from Bitcoin being used for payments and shifted into just number go up investments, and that's sad, but it's that's just the nature of things, right? People sell out, industries get big,
but it's really fine because it's so decentralized. Like it's mostly Bitcoin that's like that. It's like, and not every single one is. It's so bad like that. Like Bitcoin is the one that like everybody who's a fan of it is like number go up,
hodl,
that's true. And
there's a lot of the Bitcoin maximalists.
Yep.
Yeah, these are people who are essentially fanatics for just the one coin of Bitcoin. And you're pointing out, Bonnie, there are other options out there. There are other communities like the Dash people and the Bitcoin Cash people who really do focus on using crypto. But these are in the minority. These are not large by comparison. And so, Keene and there's a few islands in the Caribbean, but there really aren't that many hotspots for actually being able to use cryptocurrency. And so they're comparing that to the new number go up crowd of crypto bros or whatever you want to call them that really aren't in it for the technology, or they're not in it for the privacy or the empowerment to the individual of being able to actually have your own control over your finances, which is one of the big advancements of cryptocurrency. They just want to see number go up. So they say many came out to Concord to show support for Freeman on the first day of his trial, which again was yesterday. Observers in Bitcoin t-shirts peppered the courtroom benches, and an overflow room had to be set up for attendees after lunch. One security officer told CoinDesk, "I've never seen the courtroom like that." Now, to be fair, yesterday there was a ton of people that came in that weren't our supporters. They were actually international judges who were on a tour. And somebody told them there's going to be a trial in New Hampshire, so they came up on a bus or whatever. And when I came back in from lunch yesterday, I was literally behind a line of 20 people, and there was probably already another 30 people that had gone through.
And you got to go through security, so it's really annoying to get in.
And people were showing passports to get into the building.
Oh, that's strange.
Lots of brown and black people. You don't see that in New Hampshire a lot, but there was the majority of these people because people were coming from Africa and Asia to these judges from other court systems to watch an American courtroom in action. So they literally filled the entire side, like the government's. If you want to take two sides of the court, there's the defendant's side and the government side. They filled the entire government side of the court. So I think when the officer was commenting on never seeing a courtroom like that, he was talking about that time frame. But there were definitely apparently as many as 25 supporters that came out yesterday, which is way more than I expected.
All throughout the day, because some people, they could only come for the beginning, and they had to leave before the end for work or whatever.
Yeah, like I said, please don't take time off work for the benefit of me. I definitely appreciate anybody that shows up. And if you are taking time off, thank you. But no one can take 3 weeks off of work. And this is probably going to be a 2 to 3 week trial at least. Protesters also gathered in front of the courthouse. One man wearing a custom-made Bitcoin mascot costume, that's our very own TJ the Spy, told CoinDesk he'd paid $0.25 of a Bitcoin to have a seamstress make it for the inevitable trial when the Crypto Six were arrested in 2021. He said he and his husband had made the 29-hour drive from Denver, Colorado to attend the trial. Coming up, the Department of Defense. Bonnie, how much money have they misplaced?
Some number of billions.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
I think it was trillions.
It was 39% of their multiple trillion.
You know how annoying it is when someone keeps stopping mid-sentence as though he or she were asking you a series of questions? Avoid doing that. It sounds unnervingly tentative, and it imposes upon the listener to help you complete the thought. And if you're a job seeker, this alone could be a deal killer. An effective communicator sounds more confident. Complete the thought. Avoid making the listener impatient. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook. survivalspeech.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he does not intend to strike first with nuclear weapons. He said his country has not gone mad. However, accusing Western nations of making nuclear threats, the Russian leader vowed his country would defend itself with all the means at its disposal. He also admitted the war in Ukraine could be a lengthy process, suggesting an acknowledgement that the planned for swift victory has not happened. Meanwhile, a new UN report details how at least 441 civilians were killed by Russian forces in the early days of the invasion of Ukraine. A new report from the UN's Human Rights Office details summary executions and attacks in dozens of towns across Ukraine, as FSN's Jody Jacobs reports.
The scope of the new report was limited to Russian-controlled areas during the first days of fighting. While the report suggests a number of 441, the actual number of victims in Kiev, Chernihiv and Sumy regions were likely to be much higher, as the report only summarized killings from the start of the invasion until early April, when Russians withdrew from those areas. Most victims, according to the report, were targeted while commuting to work, delivering food to others, visiting neighbors or relatives. The report also classified 57 of the deaths as summary executions. According to the UN, willful killings of civilians as considered a grave breach of the Geneva Conventions.
Dozens of suspected domestic terrorists have been arrested in a major police operation in Germany. Investigators say a far-right group was plotting to storm the country's parliament and seize power. Democrat Raphael Warnock's victory in the US Senate runoff election in Georgia is more evidence of a changing political map in the United States. Senator Warnock's win over Republican Herschel Walker, his fifth victory in just over 2 years, proved that the Democratic surge in the traditional red state was no fluke, as FSN's Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
For decades, the states of Florida and Ohio have carried the most sway when it comes to crowning American presidents. But Democrat Raphael Warnock's win in the previously safe Republican state of Georgia is another indicator that the road to the presidency will take a different route in 2024. Political strategists predict Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin will be crucial to deciding who goes to the White House.
More classified documents belonging to the US government have been found at properties belonging to Donald Trump. An outside team searched 4 properties after a federal judge ordered a search to find any more classified material. It comes after the FBI found several boxes of government documents during a search of his Mar-a-Lago property in August. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at the deadly outbreak of Strep A infections in the UK that has already claimed the lives of at least 9 young children. Strep A is a common infection, spreading via sneezing and coughing, but this particular strain appears to be more virulent than its predecessors. Its spread comes at a time of rising scarlet fever infections in Britain as well, and some in the UK are theorising that both are spreading because during COVID-19 lockdowns, people's immunity to viruses was lowered. Dr. Jim McManus of the UK's Association of Public Health Directors disagrees and fears Strep A is about to become as politicised as COVID before it.
We need to remember that actually Strep A is very contagious. It's been around for a while. We had quite high peaks in 2016 and again in 2017. People talk about immunity debt, and I don't like that term because it's often used by people who want to say COVID lockdowns and COVID restrictions damaged our immune systems and we should just be able to be exposed to everything. That's junk. It really is junk science.
Doctors say parents should get in touch if their children exhibit a high fever, severe muscle pains, or a persistent rash and ongoing listlessness. Strep A is treatable with antibiotics. Early detection is key. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he does not intend to strike first with nuclear weapons. It comes as a UN report shows that at least 441 civilians were killed by Russian troops at the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine. Dozens of suspected domestic terrorists have been arrested in a major police operation in Germany, and more classified documents belonging to the US government have been found at properties belonging to Donald Trump. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
The FAA has issued a reminder that any plane can crash and kill you. Deputy FAA Administrator Serena Grant.
This year there will be more flights than ever. Any one of them could blow up in the middle of the sky without warning. That's why we're asking all Americans to tell their families that they love them before taking off.
The agency also released a list of important questions to ask yourself or your seatmate during your flight, including, should the wing be doing that? What is that whirring noise? And do all planes shake this much? They're reminding passengers that even the smallest amount of turbulence could mean you're headed toward a sudden explosive death. While hurtling through the sky at unimaginable speeds in a steel coffin can feel like gambling with your life, the FAA says there are ways to regain the illusion of control.
If you're worried about crashing, why not switch your flight at the last second? It might just save your life. Or kill you, depending on which plane crashes.
And for those who aren't flying this holiday, the FAA has reminded everyone that a plane could fall out of the sky right on top of you at any moment.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join the show here. You can bring up anything you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you tonight, it's Ian.
It's Nikki.
And Bonnie.
We've been talking about the Crypto 6 trial, which was in day number 2 today. We actually just shared yesterday's report from CoinDesk that did a pretty in-depth report that was mostly accurate. They got Free Talk Live's name wrong, but otherwise they
tried.
They pretty much got it right.
Lots of people just call it Free Talk because they think it's Free Talk and you're just saying
this is
that
the
it's
live version of it. Yeah, that's true.
Lots of people think it's just Free Talk.
I would never think that.
I wouldn't either, so I'm always just like, ugh, it's so annoying when I hear that.
It does happen often.
It sounds, it doesn't have a good ring to it.
Ring.
Yeah,
let's just
I don't know.
Call it free talk.
That's fine. Whatever. You can call us whatever you want. As long as you call in, we'd be happy to put you on the air. In fact, we're going to go to the phone calls here in just a moment. But the Department of Defense is in the news once again for misplacing,
not
losing,
having an account for their money.
having no idea where billions of dollars of taxpayer dollars have gone to. We'll
61% of their budget that's in the trillions.
61%?
They only have a count of 39%. So that's, 61%.
Wow. All right. So we can get into that coming up here in a moment. Plus, Canada possibly going to be jailing doctors soon for so-called misinformation. But Sydney is with us here to kick off hour number 2. He's in Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Sydney.
Oh, hey, everybody. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Crypto 6. I think that this is extremely important. You just read the article, and I heard there were 25 people there. I don't know why there aren't 1,000 people there.
Yeah.
This involves Bitcoin, and I specifically want to talk about how it involves the FBI. The FBI is in the news nationally for what they did with the New York Post and Twitter.
Yep.
But I've seen it in the last decade, what they've been doing to you and everybody up there, and not everybody, but the people in New Hampshire.
Sure.
Yeah, libertarians are literally a persecuted group. And it's been happening just during the trial. We were allowed to go in without masks and without IDs the whole time during the hearings. And now, the day of the trial, it's like, nope, you absolutely can't go in without an ID, and you have to wear a mask in the trial room the whole time. It's like, obviously, you're just trying to
It's a show. It's a show for the jury, is what it is.
They're just trying to bother the...
Little details, they all add up. Each little one, they all just paint a picture for everybody that's seeing of what these people are doing. From day one, they were out to destroy the Free State Project.
Sure.
All the participants, the first movers, Ian among them. This show, and what Ian Freeman has been doing for all these years, has been a bedrock for so many people for the Free State movement. One-time member of the Free State Project. People ought to look into that.
Sydney is dropped it. Sorry, you were in a bad cell phone connection there. Okay. If you want to reverse a couple sentences and say that again.
Yeah, it's probably the FBI messing with me right now.
Probably.
I'm just trying to point out that they've been coming for you since forever. I believe that Rich Paul didn't they try to get him to wear a wire?
Yes, they did.
How many infiltrators have they sent? What specific event occurred in this case that got them on your trail, let's say? Was it that they were out to get you, or was there an actual victim?
I think Phil Cristiano was just upset he didn't get the Free State Project during his Rich Paul thing. All he got was Rich Paul in jail for a year.
Yeah, Rich refused to wear a wire and went to jail because they would have dropped the charges if he'd have just been a cooperative informant, but instead he said, screw you, basically.
He wants to take down the Free State Project in general, but he wants Ian to go down specifically. So he's cooking something up.
Well, they probably don't love the fact that you run Free Talk Live and we constantly come on here and bash the state and, spread the good word of freedom.
Well, but look at their history, Sydney. I mean, it's not like this is new stuff, right? Like they were going after Martin Luther King back in the day. They've gone after, they had a whole file, oodles of files on Aretha Franklin, apparently. During her lifetime, they were watching her and building files about her. So anybody that has an opinion, go ahead.
Yeah, so how many people nationwide are upset about the FBI right now? Well, here's just another example of what they're doing. And like you said, they've been doing it for decades, ever since Hoover started the whole thing.
Right.
And they probably killed presidents. They're manipulating elections. I could go on and on. Everybody knows what's happening. At least anybody that's listening and paying attention.
You're paying attention.
I'm not trying to paint a picture here. I'm just trying to say that Ian Freeman is a part of this whole thing. I'm surprised the case is not bigger than what it is.
The media wants to ignore it or make it seem like, this is just he clearly money laundered and that's all it is.
Well, there's literally are people who believe. There was one woman at the jury selection. Obviously I'm not going to say who it was. I didn't make a note anyway. But one lady.
But this was public.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was public. I heard it, but so that's why I'm not going to give you details on it. But one lady said that she, if she sees multiple charges on someone, she just automatically thinks they're guilty.
What?
And
That is not how this works.
Yeah, well, she got dismissed because she had that opinion. So I mean,
I'm glad she admitted it.
Yeah, to be clear, like this, I don't have much to complain about with the judge on this case. All things like I've read some terrible stories about federal judges. I mean, this guy's had a few moments where he's been a little picky and upset or whatever, and that's just going to happen with judges. But
human nature.
But he handled judge nature. But he handled the jury selection pretty well and played it straight down the middle. And there was as many people kicked off that jury who had cop relatives that admitted that they couldn't keep it straight when it comes to their opinions, like they're going to favor the police, and they're off the panel. And also some people who said they don't like the FBI and they can't keep a straight viewpoint because of that. So, they're off the panel too, right?
And I'm sure some people say stuff like that just because they don't want
to get them off the panel.
Yeah, exactly.
Could be as well. Sydney, anything else you want to share tonight?
Yeah, I just want to say you're an extremely principled person, and I think a lot of people appreciate that. And I find that you're also very humble. So those combined, they don't make you a hero. People are not out there like they would for a lot of these other people. There's not martyrs lining up in this case. There's not a gazillion people out there screaming your name everywhere where the awareness is up. But I want you to know that the people that are watching, we can see what's happening, and just hold your ground. And I think that you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate the kind words, and thanks for the opinion, the call here tonight. The number, if you want to join us, is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. So
I don't blame anyone for the fact that there's not 1,000 people here. It's just like people got to go to work, and everybody's gonna go at the times they can. And plus, it's gonna look like there's less support than there is because some people that want to go don't want to wear a mask for any reason, so they're being put into the overflow room,
and the jury can't see them there.
And actually, some people left just because they were not going to ID, so they wouldn't even
been let into the building.
So they left.
Crazy.
So they didn't want to. I mean, they didn't want to ID. They were just
that's true.
against it, which makes
those are all
sense to me.
good points. And
nobody should have to ID because an illegal alien should be allowed to go in there without owning any ID because it's open to the public.
You don't need an ID to vote, but you need an ID to go watch a trial? That doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah. Those are all great points. And the Free Stater trials that have happened over the years, the biggest ones, they've all been one-day occasions, right? Where it's like, okay, maybe it's going to take all day at most, but then it's done. It's very rare to see a 2-3 week long trial, so you can't possibly expect somebody to show up for that whole thing. That's impossible. But yeah, so over the next couple weeks, people are going to come in and out when they can, and I definitely appreciate that. So the number 603-283-6160. Coming up, Bonnie, you've got this story about the Department of Defense. They, of course, are a multi-trillion-dollar agency. I don't know what their budget is year to year, but it's been a lot of money been poured into ongoing wars.
I remember hearing a story once about how they allegedly spent $12,000 or $14,000 on a coffee mug.
Sounds like something they would do, yeah.
So it's like, oh, really? What did you actually spend that money on?
Yeah, what's that code for?
Yeah, money laundering, right? You want to talk about money laundering, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Obama having $30,000 of hot dogs and pizza delivered to the White House in the middle of the night when there's no party going on or anything.
Quote-unquote cheese pizza or whatever. The number 603-283-6160. We'll get into that story here. It's exactly what you'd expect it to be. More ridiculous government waste not being tracked. It's Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Why would they go around bombing people around the world? Doesn't that make us less safe?
Oh, you know what? I guess some of these people got it coming. It's a good day to be dead if you're a terrorist search.
How many of the people that the U.S. military has killed in the last decade have been terrorists?
A whole bunch of them. You know what?
Percentage?
You sound like some liberal church.
What percentage?
A lot of people.
I'm not a liberal, sir. Liberals support war, from what I can tell.
Take a look. Obama
looked at war when we need it. We have justifiable war. You know, it's people like you. Triumph when good men do nothing, you jerk.
Wait a second, Charlie the jerk.
I'm not bombing anyone.
You can feel however you feel about me, but Smedley Butler, the 2-time Medal of Honor winning Marine, felt the same way.
Well, you know what? MacArthur had it the right way. You know what? We should have went after China. We should have chased those tricoms across that river, and we should have bombed them. We should have nuked them. We should have...
You are horrible.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here. 603-283-6160 is the number here tonight. It's Ian.
It's Nikki.
And Bonnie.
Don't forget, you can join us online anytime. Head over to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features we have there for free. Also, thanks to Bitcoin.com here. Been a longtime sponsor of Free Talk Live. You can go there and you can learn about cryptocurrency. Learn about Bitcoin at Bitcoin Cash by clicking Get Started right there at the top of the page. Over at Bitcoin.com, you get the basics. What is decentralization and why is it important to the idea of money? And what's the history with Bitcoin? You can learn things like that over at Bitcoin.com. There's no better time than now to start learning about cryptocurrency. Some people would say that they think the price of Bitcoin is going to keep going down. It's currently at about $16,860. It's been kind of settled here at around the $16,000, $17,000 range for some number of weeks now, it feels like. Yeah, it looks like it came down about a month ago. And it came down from like the $20,000 range. And that was the whole FTX debacle that has been happening over the last few weeks. And we've covered that to some extent. In fact, there's news about the crypto beliefs of Americans that is not good. And if we get the chance, we'll cover that later tonight. But apparently only 8% of Americans now have a positive view of cryptocurrencies.
I wonder what it was before.
I have that information. We'll get to it.
Cool.
But let's get into this DOD story that Bonnie has to share tonight. And then coming up, doctors in Canada who are outside of the mainstream may be facing prison time soon for so-called misinformation. But Bonnie, what is the story about the ongoing money just falling into a mystery pit known as the Department of Defense?
Well, do you recognize the website responsiblestatecraft.org? Isn't
really.
that the guy we moved into his house? The thing he does reporting for?
I don't think so.
Oh.
He does reporting for some sort of Connecticut-based thing.
I think this is Quincy, Connecticut.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at it. That doesn't ring a bell to me.
I don't know.
Anyways, it's by somebody named Connor. It says the Pentagon fails its 5th audit in a row. Last week, the Department of Defense revealed that it had failed its 5th consecutive audit. Quote, "I would not say that we flunked," said DOD Comptroller Mike McCord, although his office did note that the Pentagon only managed to account for 39% of its $3.5 trillion in assets.
That's an F grade.
I was about to say, last I checked, a 39% is pretty bad.
That's a low F.
So I did say something incorrect earlier. I had said that it was 39% of their budget. It was 39% of their $3.5 trillion in assets that they couldn't account for, but still,
yeah, that's still a lot of assets right there.
Quote,
that's like tanks and stuff, right? Like
right.
guns and office
Where are the
things
bombs
or whatever, buildings and cars.
Quote, "The process is important for us to do, and it is making us get better."
What? Okay, and also, if your accountant, if you hired an accountant or somebody to do your books and keep track of your money and your spending for your business, and they couldn't track 39% of your expenses, wouldn't you fire them? That means they're doing a really bad job. That means they literally don't know how to do their job.
Too bad we just can't fire these people.
Oh, but it's okay, Nikki. It's going to get better.
Right. We're just trying our best.
Well, this is the full quote. He says, "It is making us get better. It is not making us get better as fast as we want." And he's talking in first person. He's like saying he's part of the problem. I know.
Look, we're going to get better. Our goal for the next 5 years is we're going to get to 40%.
Right. Yeah.
You know? Like, that's how pathetic these people are. And he can sit there and say that. What was he, like a general or something? Does it say his rank?
The DOD Comptroller.
Okay, so he's not even like a ranked bureaucrat or whatever. Anyway, he's just sitting there saying, yeah, we'd like it to go faster, but we're not going to make it go faster. So what are you going to do about it?
Not going to lose their job.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What do they care?
Yeah, I'm not going to get fired here. Hey, I'm saying I think this could be better. Is it going to get better? Not realistically.
Not as fast as we want to get better.
It's just going to get worse.
That's
We've realized
true, yeah.
we have a problem and we want to get better. And we will eventually.
No, they won't, because there's no incentive for them to get better, right? Like there's not a competing military out there that you can
just has to go give a statement, and that's what he came up with.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
sorry.
It just makes it sound like they're just kicking the can down the road and acting like they're paying attention and they're concerned about this. And like as you pointed out, Bonnie, I don't know if the article gets into like the history of how long this has been going on, but this has been going on for a long time. This scandal just keeps coming up where literally billions or hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars worth of government monies going into the Pentagon just goes poof.
It does get into it. It says, "The news came as no surprise to Pentagon watchers. After all, the U.S. military has the distinction of being the only U.S. government agency to have never passed a comprehensive audit."
Wow. But even though they've never passed the audit, they're still there. It's not like they're going to be shut down. It's not like they've completely cleaned house.
Like the IRS would do to you if you didn't pass an audit.
Oh, yeah. You go to prison.
Oh, absolutely. And most of the tax dollars go to the Department of Defense.
Yeah, that's true. The supermajority of them, right? Like that's pretty much where it all goes. And so where does it go from there? Where do these 60% of these assets go to? Who's got them?
Well, I mean, like when that plane crashed into the Pentagon and destroyed however much money went missing or whatever.
Yeah.
But even the plane disappeared. So maybe they just have some kind of problem with stuff like that.
Maybe it's just a black hole.
Yeah, maybe
Area
it's like
51. That's what happens there.
Or a Bermuda Triangle going on right
no
there.
No one ever talks about the Bermuda Triangle anymore. Did you ever notice that?
I guess it's probably not a lot of like recent stuff happening there.
Must not be. Maybe now that there's like GPS and things like that, you can't as easily make up stories.
So I actually did just watch a YouTube video about the Bermuda Triangle. So I watched these people. They're not to get super off topic, but they live on a sailboat, and so they sail the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And they went through the Bermuda Triangle, and I guess the deal with that area is it's just really, really rough waters, just super stormy. So that's probably why people are disappearing, just because their ships are sinking.
There was always just so much mystery.
Yeah, but you don't really hear about it as much anymore. It used to be more, fun.
There were books
elusive.
about it.
I checked out a book about it in the library in elementary school, and I thought it was really fun. Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, it says, what did raise some eyebrows was the fact that the DoD made almost no progress in this year's bookkeeping.
I'm shocked.
Of the 27 areas investigated, only 7 earned a clean bill of financial help, which McCord described as basically the same picture as last year.
Oh my gosh. But they're trying to get better.
Yeah, that's right. They care. They're dedicated.
20 out
Change.
of 27 areas of the DoD, whatever that means.
Failed.
Mm-hmm. Given this accounting disaster, it should come as no surprise that the Pentagon has a habit of bad financial math.
Also, what does a pass mean? They didn't really say what it means to pass. Does 80% being able to track 80% of your assets?
Yeah, he did say that he didn't consider 39% a fail.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Maybe like 10%'s fail.
He must have got a lot of extra credit.
Indeed. What else do we need to know, Bonnie?
It says that the Pentagon has a habit of bad financial math. This is especially true when it comes to estimating the cost.
Financial math?
Yeah, it says it's especially true when it comes to estimating the cost of weapons programs.
Wow. All right, we're going to continue here, and more of these. I mean, it's hard to really call them revelations. It's just like an update on the continued failure of this government bureaucracy, the largest government bureaucracy. I don't know if it's on the planet, but it's certainly here in the United States, maybe on the planet.
It's most polluting on the planet.
Huge. That's true as well. This is Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. More classified documents belonging to the U.S. government have been found at properties owned by Donald Trump. An outside team searched 4 properties after a federal judge ordered a search to find any more classified material. FSN's U.S. correspondent Nick Harper reports.
The 2 classified documents were reportedly found inside a sealed box at a storage site run by the Federal General Services Administration in West Palm Beach, near to Donald Trump's Florida Mar-a-Lago residence. His lawyers have notified the Justice Department of the latest find. The searches were carried out around the end of November, with the locations also including Trump Tower in Manhattan, Trump's golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, and a storage closet at Mar-a-Lago. The latest discoveries come after the FBI found several dozen boxes of government documents during a search of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in August. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
The European Commission has announced its latest round of sanctions against Russia following the invasion of Ukraine. Brussels has said these new proposals will target a wide range of Russian entities and increase the pressure on Moscow. FSN's Alex Cadier reports from Brussels.
200 entities and individuals, Russia's mining industry, the Russian government, parliament and judiciary, as well as purveyors of disinformation, and civilian technology firms that help with the Kremlin's war effort. All of these are in the European Commission's crosshairs. This will be the 9th round of sanctions proposed by the EU. The last round targeted Russia's chemical and steel industries and individuals involved in organizing sham referendums in annexed Ukrainian regions. This latest round will ban investments into Russia's mining industry, take 4 more Russian outlets off air, and target more officials, while sanctioning 3 more Russian banks. The proposals will be discussed on Wednesday evening and Friday by EU ambassadors in the hope of a rapid adoption, though the EU's fraught relationship with Hungary, a member state, could yet delay the process. Alex Cadier, Brussels.
It was a choppy day of trading on Wall Street Wednesday as investors await next week's Federal Reserve meeting. The central bank is expected to raise interest rates by 0.5% in an effort to tame inflation. FSN's William Denzilo reports from New York.
The Federal Reserve has raised interest rates by 75 basis points at each of its last 4 meetings. Amid fears of a recession and signs that inflation may be cooling, the Fed is widely expected to lift rates by 50 basis points next week. Wall Street's eagerly awaiting this meeting and the chance to hear from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. US markets struggled for direction Wednesday ahead of that meeting, and jobless claims and consumer sentiment data due out later this week. The Dow Jones closed the day flat, but the S&P fell 0.2% and the Nasdaq 0.5%.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here. You can bring up anything you want. The number 603-283-6160. We're talking about the 39% score that the Department of Defense recently gave itself. I guess the comptroller, which is somebody that deals with like figuring out money stuff, I guess, like an accountant or something. They have figured out that they can only track about 39% or account for about 39% of their assets. I mean, that's when it was, what was it, $3 trillion, Bonnie, in assets? What was it?
$3.5 trillion in assets. Only 39% was accounted for.
$3.5 trillion in assets. I mean, just imagine if you, at your job, could not account for, you work in retail and you're the manager of a department and you tell your boss that you don't know where 60% of the inventory went. You're not going to have a job 20 seconds later.
Yeah, especially when the 60% is billions of dollars. Probably trillions.
Yeah, it's got to be trillions. If it's 3.5 trillion in assets and you don't know where 60% of it is, then I mean, that's insane.
It's a little suspicious.
But that's what they're saying, and the thing is that people need to understand is they're saying that this is not unusual. They're saying this is what happens.
And it's not even just the yearly audits. They said that they're bad at estimating the cost when it comes to weapons programs at all.
Sure they are. The government. I mean, the government can't estimate the cost of a street repair accurately.
It's just crazy because if you hired, like, say, for example, you hire a contractor and they give you an estimate or a quote, you would want that to be accurate, right? And,
sure.
If it goes up a little bit, they're going to come up to you and be like, listen, so we ran into this. It's going to end up being $1,000 more. They're not just going to be like, sorry, it was 3 times the cost. Pay up.
Yeah, but for some reason, when the government does it for guns and tanks and whatever else, it's just like, oh, whoopsie.
Well, and it's not just them. The IRS for, I believe, 30 or 40 years has been trying to implement, I think it's 50 years actually, has been trying to implement a new computer system. I mean, they literally have like ancient computers in the IRS that is running their system.
They can't talk on the phone and use the computer at the same time because they're on dial-up.
It's like that level. They've got dot matrix printers.
So they have, they're getting so much money, but they can't update their.
They've literally poured in billions, like dozens of billions of dollars into this over the years.
I'm sure you've had to use a state website before.
They suck.
They suck. It's like, who is their web designer?
To change my last name, like a couple weeks ago, it just had so many issues where it was just like, issue. Please contact the I don't remember what the word, like administrator. It's just like, who the hell is that?
It just blows my mind that every single thing the state does is terrible.
And it's
they
amazing.
can't do anything correctly besides murder people and steal from them.
But yet people still think they're necessary. Right?
It blows my mind.
We have to have them, or else it would be anarchy.
I wish it was anarchy.
I mean, really, what are they doing for us? What is it what is the service that we're getting from them that is so worthwhile?
Well, I missed out on half of the first day of the trial because they wouldn't let me in, even though I'm a member of the public, because I didn't show my ID.
Oh, yeah, and then you got shouted at today by the security guy.
Oh, yeah, the U.S. Marshal is got like
the head of
a
security.
thing out for me now, me and Joa.
Why?
Well, he came up to me, he came up to the person sitting next to me and told her, like, you need a mask, and she was just like, oh, yeah, I didn't know where to get one. And she started putting it on, and he's like, you got to put your mask on correctly. And I was like, what do you mean? I have a big nose. That's what I said. And he was just like, no, you gotta flip open the he didn't even explain how to do it. Actually, he was telling me that I gotta flip open the flaps, but he was like, no, you gotta put it on the right way. That's all he kept saying, and I was just like, I can't read Korean because the little things they give you are in Korean.
Wasn't he right up in your face?
He was right up in my like area, but he was standing up and I was sitting down. But then he leaned over and got in the girl next to me's face when she was just simply trying to figure it out. So I told him, I was just like, dude, 6 feet.
Yeah,
it's
social distance, buddy.
I said, COVID's going around. Don't you know what these things are for?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not about that. It's all
not about that, and I know that.
Yeah.
It's about do what we say.
What was the point of that story? I think that was a tangent.
It's okay. We do that here. So let's go back to yours. Go ahead.
It says the Pentagon's most recent famous boondoggle is the F-35 program, which has gone over its original budget by $165 billion to date.
Wow. I wonder what the... But what was the original budget? Do we know?
I don't think it says.
All right, let's see if we can find out.
It says,
that's just what they went over?
Yeah, that's just how much they went over their original estimate. It says, but examples of overruns abound, as Senator Jim Inhofe and Jack Reed from Rhode Island and Oklahoma wrote in 2020, the lead vessel for every one of the Navy's last 8 combatant ships came in at least 10% over budget, leading to more than $8 billion in additional costs.
How much did you say it was on the F-35?
$165 billion over budget.
Over budget?
Over its original budget.
The headline at Bloomberg, and it's behind a damn paywall, says Lockheed's $398 billion F-35 is at risk of costly fixes. According to a Congress watchdog, the F-35's total projected cost, because this isn't done yet apparently, is now $1.7 trillion. What? Which includes $1.3 trillion in estimated operations and sustainment over 66 years. So there's the cost of development, and then there's the cost of operating this thing.
This is an airplane?
Yeah, it sounds like an airplane or something. It's Lockheed, so it must be.
Why would it be that expensive?
It's a boondoggle. I mean, that's just the way it is. They've got to deal with the government, and they can just keep on raking people over the coals for this.
I just can't even fathom an airplane or whatever, anything really. I couldn't fathom anything that costs over $1 trillion. So
they have a little, there's a hyperlink there on that sentence, and I clicked on it, and all this one says is that it's $165 billion over its original cost expectation, more than 8 years behind schedule also.
Wow.
But it doesn't really explain, I mean, it doesn't say what the original cost was, but it says the GAO investigated the F-35's 3-year-old Block 4 hardware and software modernization effort and discovered that it had increased from $10.6 billion to $14.4 billion. So that's just one aspect of this that went up $4 billion.
Yeah. It's not their money, so what do they care? They can just print more, which of course means they're stealing your value from your savings. That's just the way it is. All right. What else, Bonnie?
I accidentally clicked off of that onto that hyperlink.
Oh, okay. Well, so I pulled up a little bit about here at the F-35, which apparently is in production. Its first flight was 15 years ago in 2006.
So now it's 15 years behind?
Well, that was its first flight, so I don't know when it was officially
So this isn't even like a whole F-35. It's just the modernization effort or upgrading it.
Honestly, I'm not sure.
That's $165 billion over budget.
I don't know. It says here it is a family of single-seat, single-engine, all-weather stealth multi-role combat aircraft, and made by Lockheed Martin. It descends from the X-35, which in 2001 beat the X-32 from Boeing to win the Joint Strike Fighter program. And so, anyway, there's a lengthy story.
Don't worry, Ian, because the politicians have a plan to get the Pentagon in shape.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
It says, despite the long odds, a bipartisan group of lawmakers led by Senator Bernie Sanders proposed a bill last year that could help make them get back in shape.
Sure. When was the last time they were in shape?
It says the legislation would cut 1% off the top of the budget of any part of the Pentagon that fails an audit.
1%.
Just 1% of one little part of them.
Is it 1% one time?
It says that means that if the proposal had already passed, 20 of the agency's 27 auditing units would face a budget cut this year of 1%.
Would it be 1% per year?
I don't think it says.
Yeah, because that would be a little better, right? Like if it was you lose 1% every single year if you don't meet your goal or whatever, then at least
still.
That's something. Like whether this will pass is another question. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Wine in a box? I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. Technically, it's in a bag in a box, a plastic bladder with an airtight valve, and boxed wine has been around for years, although you might not have recognized label brands until recently, as name vineyards have followed frugal shoppers who pay lots less for the equivalent of 4 bottles. How? Cardboard boxes and plastic bags are much less expensive packaging than glass bottles, which cost more to ship, production of which asks more of the environment, and which are breakable. And when you open a bottle of wine, the clock starts ticking. But boxed wine can last 4 to 6 weeks from the time you open the spigot on the front of the box, which sits on a refrigerator shelf. Cheers! How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks on the blog at andyoucanquoteme.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join the show here. Bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. At 603-283-6160. Maybe you want to comment on government boondoggles. They don't just happen at the federal level. It's certainly in its largest form when it comes to the U.S. military with, as Bonnie points out, the Department of Defense. With $3.5 trillion in assets, they don't know where about 60% of them are, apparently. Yep. They can't account for them. So that's money that's just disappeared. It's gone into somebody's hands. It didn't go away. It just isn't being tracked. So,
well, imagine when you have to pay off all your buddies, but you don't want the American public to know how hard it is to keep track of where it all went.
Yeah. So, we just lost track of 60% of $3.5 trillion worth of things.
Well, the $12,000 coffee cup was too unbelievable, so they just have to stop tracking it altogether.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can just pretend like it doesn't exist or it just disappeared, then it's less embarrassing, I guess, in total. So that's a story that we've been covering. But, of course, at the state level, there have been plenty of stories like this. I mean, Nikki, I know you're from Massachusetts, not per se Boston, but Boston, of course, had what they call the Big Dig for decades.
My ex-boyfriend's family was actually the people that did that.
Doing the construction on it?
Yep.
So what is it? Can you explain it for Bonnie, who
So basically what the Big Dig was they essentially dug a tunnel under... I don't know. I think it's the Charles River, maybe. I don't know. They dug a tunnel under the water, essentially, just for another bypass for highways and stuff.
Oh, I hate those kind. Creep me out.
Yeah, and it was an absolute failure. It was millions of dollars over budget. They just kept running into problem after problem, and it cost a lot more than it was supposed to.
So, according to the Wikipedia article, the work began in 1982, and they were still talking about it when I moved up here in 2006. It finally finished in 2007, December of 2007. So,
and there were still problems with it. If you go under the tunnel, you can see the cracks and leaking. It's terrible.
Scary.
It's terrible. I hate it. Yeah.
That's weirdly common. When I was little, we would have to go through them in Virginia, and I was always just like, you can see water and just drops. Like, how is that normal? And my grandpa would be like, it's normal. It's fine.
Why do they even do it?
Just like
to spend $8 billion
just go
is why they
over.
do it.
It would be easier to go over, no?
Yeah, it would, but it wouldn't make as much money for the construction company. If that's the case, and tie them up for literally 35 years.
And it just makes me feel even less confident with this one in Boston if I ever have to go through it, because it's just like, these people were clearly incompetent, and you want me to drive in their underwater tunnels.
Yeah, and people died too, by the way, during this construction.
Oh, yeah, it was a huge catastrophe. So how much money were they over budget?
So, well, again, numbers change right over the years.
Yeah.
$2.8 billion was the estimated cost.
In the 80s.
In the 80s. So they say if you adjust that for inflation as of 2020, that would have been $7.4 billion.
They ended up completing it in December of 2007, so 35 years later, at a cost of over $8.08 billion. Now, they say they didn't actually start construction until 1991, so they literally spent 9 years planning it and then started construction. But they adjust the $8.08 billion for inflation in 1982 dollars would be $21.5 billion, meaning is a cost overrun of a 190%. I mean, it's a tremendous amount. And how many deaths? That's really an important question here. Because
did people drown? That's really creepy.
Okay. Well, I think it was like construction accidents. Just because I mean, it's a huge project to dig under a river and put a highway tunnel. And it's not really a highway tunnel. Well, I guess it kind of is.
So there was the death of at least one person. And I remember hearing there was a story when I first moved here about a panel or something that fell from the ceiling of the big dig onto somebody's car. I don't know if that killed that person in that case.
But so that wasn't construction? That was...
It was poor construction or something like that. It was just
so not
something
it wasn't
fell.
a construction worker.
No, it was a panel that fell from the...
Afterwards.
I don't know if it was afterwards. I think it was during. I think it was still during construction. It was toward the end of the construction. Just this debacle that again made one construction company very, very wealthy at the cost of the Boston and the Massachusetts taxpayers. So, there's stories like this all over the place. And this is just the nature of the state. It is the nature of monopoly, right? You have a monopoly system. And that means there's one provider. Now, there's multiple people who can make a road, right? The government hires usually a private company. It's not usually the government's public works department that makes the roads. They have a private company come in and they lay the asphalt down.
Yeah, they're buddies.
They're buddies, right? Their brother or whoever it is that's connected with the city council. They get the contract. In some places, they actually open it for bid. But generally, it's their buddies that are running these companies. And they get paid more than what the job is worth on almost every single occasion. And that's just the sweetheart deal of knowing somebody in government. If you're a contractor, you get big money. You get to charge 5 times as much.
Because there's no sane person that you have to please who would just be a regular person that would be your customer in, private life.
Right. And they have the monopoly on the roads. So whoever gets that contract gets all the contracts.
And they can keep charging up because the government's going to be like, okay, whatever you want.
Right, because because you don't get to choose not to pay for it. You can't just say, oh, no, that's okay. I don't appreciate all the big dig boondoggles, so I'm not going to give money to the Boston, whatever they are, the Department of Transportation or the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. You can't say, oh, I don't appreciate the Keene police running a Bearcat through somebody's front door for a victimless so-called crime. I'm going to withhold my money from you.
I don't need your security or protection. I'm just going to hire one myself.
Services. I don't want your services. They will then murder you or kidnap you and put you in a jail cell, steal your home from you. I mean, if you had a choice, it would make all the difference in the world. If the people of Boston could say, nah, we'd rather give money to this other company over here they're saying they're going to do a better job than you state people, so we're going to take the money over here. Well, then all of a sudden, the state would just get real efficient, or they'd go out of business.
Well, and allegedly, people are voting on these things before they're done because that's supposed to make a difference.
They're not voting on them. They're voting on the politicians.
Probably just city councilors are voting on them for them.
And then the people who run for politics are the worst type of human being.
City councilors are literally just in their position to rubber stamp whatever the other bureaucrats want.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and somehow all of these people get elected.
Yeah, I mean, because productive people don't actually run for office. The people that are running successful businesses, the Elon Musks of the world or whoever, the people that are, and you can quibble about his business or whatever, but, people that are actually making things, people that are actually creating products and services in the marketplace, these people are busy. They're busy satisfying their customers. They're busy coming up with new ideas. They're busy doing business, and they don't have time to sit on a city council position or a state rep position or whatever. So it tends to be the busybodies. It tends to be the lawyers and the politicos, the people that are looking to enrich themselves on the backs of other people's efforts that go for these positions. That's why Ron Paul was a unique character, because he was an actual doctor, an actual person who did something productive in the market, and he took time out of his productive life to go and do something where he was the only guy out of 400, whatever, 35 representatives.
Really thought about that. Like, I knew Ron Paul was a doctor, but I never thought about the fact that, like, you never hear about other politicians, like, actual careers. Their careers are usually just
Most of them are
being
lawyers.
politicians.
That's their career.
Well, like Nancy Pelosi, for example, literally just a career politician. Like,
There are those ones too.
Yep.
That's true.
Just like went to college in San Francisco or whatever, and immediately got a government job and hasn't
disgusting.
stopped. Yeah.
Bernie Sanders is one of those too, I think. Never worked a day in his life. Speaking of that, Sarah's on the line here in New Mexico. Sarah, you can relate to never working, right?
Well, I never worked a job on the books, but I mean, I've done. I mean, I help the network marketing.
Yeah, that's right. You did call last night to brag about your network marketing experience.
Didn't know that, though. I didn't know she never worked a job on the books. Does that mean that you were not paying taxes while you were working? Because you said that you worked when you were 18 and then you quit because
Let's talk about it. We'll come back to it here with Sarah. Hang on, Sarah. We'll bring you back for hour number 3. We'll talk about Sarah's work history and where was the last time she actually had a real job. She's working for network marketing, which...
She's not getting paid, though.
Yeah, she's helping her roommate, basically, with network marketing. And is that a real job? There's more coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold back. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. More classified documents belonging to the U.S. government have been found at properties owned by Donald Trump. An outside team searched 4 properties after a federal judge ordered a search to find any more classified material. FSN's U.S. correspondent Nick Harper reports.
The 2 classified documents were reportedly found inside a sealed box at a storage site run by the Federal General Services Administration in West Palm Beach, near to Donald Trump's Florida Mar-a-Lago residence. His lawyers have notified the Justice Department of the latest find. The searches were carried out around the end of November, with the locations also including Trump Tower in Manhattan, Trump's golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, and a storage closet at Mar-a-Lago. The latest discoveries come after the FBI found several dozen boxes of government documents during a search of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in August. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
The European Commission has announced its latest round of sanctions against Russia following the invasion of Ukraine. Brussels has said these new proposals will target a wide range of Russian entities and increase the pressure on Moscow. FSN's Alex Cadier reports from Brussels.
200 entities and individuals, Russia's mining industry, the Russian government, parliament and judiciary, as well as purveyors of disinformation, and civilian technology firms that help with the Kremlin's war effort. All of these are in the European Commission's crosshairs. This will be the 9th round of sanctions proposed by the EU. The last round targeted Russia's chemical and steel industries and individuals involved in organizing sham referendums in annexed Ukrainian regions. This latest round will ban investments into Russia's mining industry, take 4 more Russian outlets off air, and target more officials, while sanctioning 3 more Russian banks. The proposals will be discussed on Wednesday evening and Friday by EU ambassadors in the hope of a rapid adoption, though the EU's fraught relationship with Hungary, a member state, could yet delay the process. Alex Cadier, Brussels.
It was a choppy day of trading on Wall Street Wednesday as investors await next week's Federal Reserve meeting. The central bank is expected to raise interest rates by 0.5% in an effort to tame inflation. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
The Federal Reserve has raised interest rates by 75 basis points at each of its last 4 meetings. Amid fears of a recession and signs that inflation may be cooling, the Fed is widely expected to lift rates by 50 basis points next week. Wall Street's eagerly awaiting this meeting and the chance to hear from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. US markets struggled for direction Wednesday ahead of that meeting, and jobless claims and consumer sentiment data due out later this week. The Dow Jones closed the day flat, but the S&P fell 0.2% and the Nasdaq 0.5%.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at the deadly outbreak of Strep A infections in the UK that has already claimed the lives of at least 9 young children. Strep A is a common infection, spreading via sneezing and coughing, but this particular strain appears to be more virulent than its predecessors. Its spread comes at a time of rising scarlet fever infections in Britain as well, and some in the UK are theorising that both are spreading because during COVID-19 lockdowns, people's immunity to viruses was lowered. Dr. Jim McManus of the UK's Association of Public Health Directors disagrees and fears Strep A is about to become as politicised as COVID before it.
We need to remember that actually Strep A is very contagious. It's been around for a while. We had quite high peaks in 2016 and again in 2017. People talk about immunity debt, and I don't like that term because it's often used by people who want to say COVID lockdowns and COVID restrictions damaged our immune systems and we should just be able to be exposed to everything. That's junk. It really is junk science.
Doctors say parents should get in touch if their children exhibit a high fever, severe muscle pains, or a persistent rash and ongoing listlessness. Strep A is treatable with antibiotics. Early detection is key. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. More classified documents belonging to the U.S. government have been found at properties owned by Donald Trump. The European Commission has announced its latest round of sanctions against Russia over its invasion of Ukraine, with Brussels seeking to increase the pressure on Moscow. And a choppy day of trading on Wall Street as investors await the results of next week's Federal Reserve meeting. That is the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer reports.
This is the Onion Week in Review. A report released this week by the Brookings Institution found that the U.S. currently has enough chairs and that there is no urgent need to produce any new ones for the time being. Researchers confirmed through overwhelming evidence that there is absolutely no shortage of chairs, citing in their findings the sheer number of armchairs, folding chairs, bar stools, Adirondack chairs, swivel chairs, lazy boys, and rocking chairs already in existence.
Our research shows that even in a place where there seems not to be enough chairs, a quick investigation will find 1 or 2 chairs just over in the next room. Basically, as far as chairs go, I'd like to reiterate that we have a very good number of them and could just use those.
And in this week's local news, The guy in front of you is ordering for an entire construction crew. In other news, a local police department reduces costs by using the same evidence for every investigation. Voters are clamoring to hear if a female political candidate is a mother first, and a whitewater rafting trip in which a friend drowned is still pretty fun.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour of the show. The phones are open, and you can join us here as hopefully there was any fluid in that cup. You can join us here as we kick off the third hour. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Ian.
It's Nikki.
And Bonnie.
We're going to continue here. We actually have Sarah in New Mexico on the line with us, and we're going to get into Nikki's story for the night, which is the doctors that may be facing prison time in Canada for simply having a different opinion, which we'll get into that coming up here. The number again, 603-283-6160, and now apparently just 8% of Americans have a positive view of cryptocurrencies, at least according to a recent poll. We can get into that as well. But as I said, we're going to continue with Sarah in New Mexico. Bonnie, you had some questions for Sarah about her work history. Can you kind of recap what you were asking her?
Yeah, you asked Sarah if she had ever worked a day in her life, and she said, well, I never worked on the books. And I was interested in that because...
Which I support, by the way.
Yeah, I support working without paying taxes, but I was just confused because I thought that she worked regular jobs before she went, went to the mental health
You would
crisis.
also think that a communist would love taxes, right?
Sarah?
Well, you know what? I worked as a secretary and nursing assistant, and then I cracked up and winded up in a mental hospital when I was 18.
Okay, so you worked as a secretary prior to being 18 years old?
And a nurse's assistant.
Yeah, but the high school, like, they train you for job training or whatever, so I passed out flyers or whatever, and then once I got cracked up, I never worked on the books, but I'm helping Richard.
Oh,
and,
she's saying she was in training for that.
So wait, did you ever collect a paycheck?
Yeah, I actually got paycheck for like 6 months or something.
Okay, all right. So you did
she worked
work
for 6 months.
Okay, that's good.
That
And you're now in your
you're
now in your 50s?
I'm 53.
Okay.
And and then with my network, you only get paid if you're the enroller. You have to sign people up, and you have to be the enroller. So I'm just a customer. So Richard, he is the enroller. He wants to enroll people. Yeah. So
That's
he
why I said she's not getting paid.
Right. So you actually are you're kind of getting paid in that Richard gives you a place to stay, and you help him with some of the things that he's doing.
Right. I mean, he shares whatever he makes, whatever he shares with me, and I share with him. I get my EBT. He eats some of my food, and whatever money he makes, he helps me out. It just goes back. But I do pay him rent, my part of the rent.
Gotcha.
So, but
I thought you were getting free rent. I thought you were getting free rent for being like a naked maid or something like that.
Well, I still have to pay something. I still have to contribute. There's nothing for free. You know what I mean?
That's a real job.
Well, it's true. They say, Sarah, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And it sounded like you were working for your housing in return for like cleaning while you were in the buff.
I support it.
Hey, whatever.
Well, I mean, look,
if you
I
got
had
it,
no
use it.
money whatsoever. Look, if I didn't pay any money, he would make me pay for it with sex. How about that? You know what I mean?
Oh my
I mean, do I want to be
goodness.
put in that predicament? I mean, that's how men are. And
But you are
man,
admitting that you
I mean,
do clean his house naked.
Well, he used to look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, she already did admit it before.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a little perv.
I mean, hey,
Yeah,
whatever works for you, Sarah. I'm not judging you for it. I'm not.
I'm really
I
not
still have
either.
to help out.
I just wanted to ask about that phrase. You said you worked but not on the books, and it sounds like you did, but whatever.
Well, I mean, I work. I find people. I give them referrals, and then Richard goes in and signs them up. I expend the company.
How do you find them? What do you do to prospect, as they call it?
Well, you know what? I go into businesses. They let me leave their business cards of their business. Most of them they do. So I give them most of them they're friendly enough to have them explain to the situation. But I'm just a customer, And this company, 80% of the people are just customers because they got a full-time job. Yeah, but the other ones, once you sign up, you got to market, you got to deliver. With this one, all you do is you have 35-point commitments. You order what you want for yourself, and that's it. If you don't want to tell anybody, you don't get paid. All I get is loyalty dollars.
I'm sure I'm sure you'd have more success going in as, in more of the customer role because it's less salesy and they probably trust you a little bit more. You're like, hey, I use these products too. I like them and let me refer you to my guy.
But there's got to be the multi-level thing going on here, right, Sarah? Like where you can recruit people to recruit people to recruit people and then you make big money. That's got to be with this product, right?
Yeah, let me say. All I'm entitled to is I could get 2 generations of free loyalty dollars, 7% coming up just as a customer. I don't sign anybody up.
Yeah, but they have that, right? Like I know you're denying that.
What would happen if you just stopped buying this stuff? Wouldn't you save more money than you're saving on the product you're buying? Do you really need this stuff? That's how they get you. They tell you like, oh, you'll save on buying this. But what would happen if you just stopped buying it?
Well, why would I give up these products when all the other products are much inferior?
Right. She's bought in totally to the idea that this one company creates the most superior products, which is, of course, the network marketing pitch of all of these companies that are in this space. They all are the best.
Will send their workers to...
Was this the one you worked for?
No,
for
Young Living is
I did this one.
Oh, okay.
It's an essential oils. They'll work their workers to like the fields where they grow the lavender, and they'll go on tours, and it'll be like
they'll sell it to them, right?
Only grow the best lavender, only in Utah.
And it's very expensive, and you have to actually with Young Living, you have to buy $130 at least a month before you can even get paid.
Typical. That's like typical network marketing stuff.
It's like what job makes you spend money before you can get paid?
Right.
Well, you got to be a product of the product, as they say.
Well, that's how they're successful.
Yes, you do, Sarah. Yes, you do. Now, aren't your essential oils? Hold on, Sarah. Aren't your essential oils the best in the world?
You know what? It is just as good as Young Living, but they overprice. Other companies, they overprice. Ours sells it for half the price, and I think that it is the best. I believe in our products, and I'm happy using it, or I wouldn't be trying to tell other people about it. If you don't believe in something, don't do it.
Thank you for the call tonight, Sarah. I do appreciate hearing from you. So Nikki, you were in one of these companies?
Yeah, I was, I wonder how old I was. I was probably like 19.
Same time that I got into one of them, too.
Yeah, I think I was 20.
Yeah, it was a girl I went to high school with, and this is how it goes. It's typical. They message you, hey, girl, I haven't seen you in so long. How are you doing? And I was interested in the essential oils because I'm into, herbalism and natural health and stuff like that, even at that point at 19 years old. So I was like, you know what? These products sound great. I was more interested in the products. And I'm like, well, if I can make some money on the side, that's cool too. I really wanted the starter kit. I wanted the diffuser and all of the essential oils.
That's how my aunt got me. Like, she got me to, well, I didn't end up doing anything with Young Living, but I did get the starter kit and I didn't know why it was called that. I thought my aunt was just being nice because like she came to Utah where I lived and stayed with us for a few days with, because she went on one of those tours, and then she got me to buy the starter kit. I was like,
probably gave you a bunch of free samples first.
Yeah.
And what did it cost? What did the starter kit cost?
I don't remember.
I think it was $130.
Okay,
yeah, something like that.
And you got what? The diffuser and some starter oils, basically?
Like 20 oils.
Their essential oils are really expensive. Like one little teeny bottle of tea tree oil is like $80 or $90.
Wow.
And if you go on Amazon right now and you get a different brand, even like a really good quality organic brand, for a 1 milliliter thing, it's not going to be more than like $15. I mean,
that's a huge difference.
They way overprice their oils, and they're like, yeah, well, ours are the most pure, and it's all organic. And you can come look at this lavender field, and it's just a huge scam.
So did you end up signing up to sell them?
I did. I tried it for a little bit. I just suck at selling stuff, and I'm just
it's hard to sell a $90 product when you can go on Amazon and get one for 10 or 15 or whatever, right?
And
that's a tough sell.
I'm not really interested in that line of work. Like that's totally not I'm more service oriented. So like I like teaching yoga and working as a nurse, and I don't want to sell products.
I say that all the time. Like selling products is just not natural for me. Like I joined It Works. It's not essential oils.
Essential? No,
it's like health things and these wraps that go around your stomach and make you skinny.
Oh boy, those are some fake.
Yeah, it's fake
products right there.
And that's how I ended up getting out of it. Is like my friend was like, "How does it work?" And I was like, I will figure it out. And like my upline couldn't tell me,
They
and
couldn't answer
there
it.
was nowhere on the internet that explained it.
Are they still in business?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think.
It amazes me how long the life cycle is on these companies in some cases. More coming up here. We'll talk about it. It's Free Talk Live. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
is Free Talk Live. You can join the show here and bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. As sometimes is the case when Sarah calls in, she sparks a conversation about network marketing because a lot of the hosts on the show, as a lot of people in real life, have had experiences in this so-called industry.
Well, unfortunately, I think it's a lot of people who were kind of entrepreneurial get caught up in it.
Yeah.
Like, I think you fit that description. Somebody who's desperate.
I got caught up in it, yeah.
I was desperate. Literally, I needed a second job, and I was like, where's it going to come from? And this lady emailed me or messaged me on Facebook Messenger saying, how would you like to work for my company? I was like, sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I want
to get further into it here because you ladies both have experience with some of these companies. I also had one 20 years ago. And we can you can share your thoughts as well. The number 603-283-6160. And we do have a TikTok channel, by the way. You can go to tiktok.freetalklive.com. Aria said that I think it was Aria.
Yeah.
She said that the video that had been banned has now been unbanned on our TikTok channel, which was Conan losing his mind over drag shows from a couple weeks ago.
It's pretty hilarious.
It's a pretty good clip. Yeah, so Aria gets the credit for clipping that one out and uploading it there. But if you want to follow us on TikTok...
It's made over 10K views.
Not
cool.
Bad, not bad. It's our number one video, which we only have like 10 of them or something or less. But hey, we're trying over there at that TikTok channel. Go to tiktok.freetalklive.com. It'll be there for as long as before they take us down, right? Because at some point they're probably going to ban the channel because we're not really big fans of government, and the Chinese corporation that runs TikTok certainly is. Let's go to Chuck. He's in Washington State. Go ahead, Chuck.
So I wanted to throw this curveball at y'all. I don't know if you heard about the 25 people that were arrested over in Germany by the German federal police.
No.
So this is probably about 14 hours old, I guess. Oh. I don't know, maybe it's less than 24 hours. And I find it ironic that it happened on December 7th.
Pearl Harbor?
Yeah. But anyway, over in Germany. But anyway, so 25 people, they had, I guess, a shadow type government type plan all set up. And they were planning to either kill or arrest current members of the German government. The details I've been able to pick off real quick is from DW Deutschfeld. It's a media outlet that's funded by the German government. So, like, of course, So anyway, just wanted to share that quick bit of information. How interesting that is. By the way, the arrest occurred not only in Germany but two other countries. One of them Austria, and I think the other one is Hungary. So.
Very interesting.
They planned to start their own shadow government and wanted to kill the people who are currently in power.
Or arrest them. And they believe that it's supposed to be replaced by the government that was pre-World War or during World War I type of they have Altdeutsch type of a perspective.
So it's probably like a whole political ideology behind this and everything.
Were they Nazis?
Yeah.
They're dubbing them as a far-right group.
And that's what I thought. It's definitely a far right-wing group with military ties, some type of, I guess, German police ties also, current and active. There's a lot of government-type people that. But I thought it was ironic, even more ironic, that it happened on December 7th over there. If some of the guys wrote a book called My Struggle when they were in jail.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, maybe it is Nazi.
Apparently one of the guys that was arrested was 71 years old.
I'm not sure how.
Former lawmaker.
Is the idea?
Yes.
Is the idea here that these 25 were going to do this on their own, or that they have hundreds more supporters waiting quietly somewhere?
Well, I think they were counting on. And this is something that, and it's not just Germany. I mean, we're looking at Hungary and some of these other people that are re-exploring their European identity. And this is why I kind of laugh and say that the European Union's not really it's a false sense of security. It's a false sense of global security at this point.
Interesting, Chuck. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. There's a lengthy story. I appreciate your call. There's a lengthy piece over the BBC about this. I'll just give you some of the introductory details here because it's way too long to get into. But according to the BBC, these 25 people have been arrested in raids across Germany over 10 or 11 different German states. They're calling them a group of far-right and ex-military figures that are prepared to have a Day X to storm the Reichstag Parliament building and seize power. A man named as Heinrich the 13th from an old aristocratic family is alleged to have been central to their plans. That may have been the gentleman he was just talking about. According to federal prosecutors, he's one of 2 alleged ringleaders among those arrested across the 11 German states. The plotters are said to include members of the extremist Reichsbürger, which stands for Citizens of the Reich movement, which has long been in the sights of German police over violent attacks and racist and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. They also refuse to recognize the modern German state. You know, I don't know what these people believe, but I definitely understand the idea of not recognizing the state. I mean, I think the state should not exist.
But it's one thing if you're like, oh, this state that started in 1930 is the wrong one, and we need to reinstate 1931
and
or
the whole violent overthrow thing.
Yeah, I don't
storming
agree with violence.
The parliament.
Yeah, I don't agree with violence, and I don't think any states should exist. I don't want to replace the state with my favorite state.
There's no such thing as a rightful state to exist.
Indeed. The state is evil. I mean, the state is a concept that simply allows humans to dominate other people. That's all it is. It's just an excuse for power. That's all it has ever been.
It allows them to do that, but not rightly. It's just never right. That there will always be natural law that says, like, you have your rights and you can't aggress on other people's. And there's no magic paper that you can write on that you can say, oh, I get to take away these people's rights and it makes it right. It will never, ever happen.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as long as there are people who believe in the idea of the state, it will always exist. Now, it doesn't exist in that it's physical, right? And it also doesn't exist in that it is ethereal or outside of this realm or metaphysical or whatever. The state is just an idea. It only exists in people's minds. And it will go away when people stop believing in it. That's it. That's all it will take. But unfortunately, we're not there yet. We're not even close to being there yet, unfortunately. And that's going to be one of the hardest parts about the Crypto 6 trial is that, ultimately, for all the principles that libertarians have, we're still in the minority. And the odds that, one of us is on the jury, probably still pretty small, but still better odds here than in somewhere like California. New York State or California, right? So you can join us here. The number 603-283-6160. Doctors could be facing prison time in Canada. We're going to get to that story coming up here, all for simply having an opinion that is outside of the norm when it comes to medical treatment, which, of course, is why you go to more than one doctor in a lot of cases, right? You want to get a second opinion. You want to talk to somebody else who might see things differently because we're just humans. And doctors are fallible, right? They're educated. Yeah, they probably know more than you do about medical things, but they don't always agree, and that's a good thing. We got more coming up about that and your calls and thoughts, plus maybe a little bit more about network marketing as well if we get the chance. It is Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. More classified documents belonging to the U.S. government have been found at properties owned by Donald Trump. An outside team searched 4 properties after a federal judge ordered a search to find any more classified material. FSN's U.S. correspondent Nick Harper reports.
The 2 classified documents were reportedly found inside a sealed box at a storage site run by the Federal General Services Administration in West Palm Beach, near to Donald Trump's Florida Mar-a-Lago residence. His lawyers have notified the Justice Department of the latest find. The searches were carried out around the end of November, with the locations also including Trump Tower in Manhattan, Trump's golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, and a storage closet at Mar-a-Lago. The latest discoveries come after the FBI found several dozen boxes of government documents during a search of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in August. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
The European Commission has announced its latest round of sanctions against Russia following the invasion of Ukraine. Brussels has said these new proposals will target a wide range of Russian entities and increase the pressure on Moscow. FSN's Alex Cadier reports from Brussels.
200 entities and individuals, Russia's mining industry, the Russian government, parliament and judiciary, as well as purveyors of disinformation, and civilian technology firms that help with the Kremlin's war effort. All of these are in the European Commission's crosshairs. This will be the 9th round of sanctions proposed by the EU. The last round targeted Russia's chemical and steel industries and individuals involved in organizing sham referendums in annexed Ukrainian regions. This latest round will ban investments into Russia's mining industry, take 4 more Russian outlets off air, and target more officials, while sanctioning 3 more Russian banks. The proposals will be discussed on Wednesday evening and Friday by EU ambassadors in the hope of a rapid adoption. Though the EU's fraught relationship with Hungary, a member state, could yet delay the process. Alex Cadier, Brussels.
It was a choppy day of trading on Wall Street Wednesday as investors await next week's Federal Reserve meeting. The central bank is expected to raise interest rates by 0.5% in an effort to tame inflation. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
The Federal Reserve has raised interest rates by 75 basis points at each of its last 4 meetings. Amid fears of a recession and signs that inflation may be cooling, the Fed is widely expected to lift rates by 50 basis points next week. Wall Street's eagerly awaiting this meeting and the chance to hear from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. US markets struggled for direction Wednesday ahead of that meeting, and jobless claims and consumer sentiment data due out later this week. The Dow Jones closed the day flat, but the S&P fell 0.2% and the Nasdaq 0.5%.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, and the phones are open. You can join the show here. The number is 603-283-6160. It's Ian, Nikki, and Bonnie in the studio here tonight. And maybe you've had some experience in network marketing and it wasn't so great. Or maybe you just love it. You're welcome to call in and share your thoughts. Also, we've got this story about the Canadian doctors that I want to get into. But first, we're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. And we do have Richard on the line here. He's calling from New Mexico. It's Sarah's roommate / kind of boyfriend. Richard, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
You're on. Yes, I appreciate you taking my call.
Sure.
We've got a homeless problem here in Albuquerque, and several weeks ago they had a housing coalition that had a rally in the park for getting homeless people into housing, and the people had signs that said housing is a right. And
we have one of those here.
They had that here?
Yeah, remember when that guy was yelling at Thomas Parisi because Thomas Parisi wanted to sleep in the gazebo?
Yeah.
They were having a communist protest saying that we need to give people housing.
But Parisi was like raining on their parade, right?
Yeah, Parisi was like on a binge or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Tom Parisi, who we've had as a guest on the show in the past, was just going off in the park while these commies were having this housing protest or whatever. And Thomas
he was arguing with them
sleep.
about who was more homeless.
Well, he was homeless at the time, apparently, and he wanted to sleep in the park gazebo, but apparently the commies didn't like it.
Yeah.
Right? So
it was stupid.
While they're advocating
Double standard.
Right, while they're advocating for helping the homeless, there's one of them in the park that wants to, make a bed there, and they're
Well, not
mad
your
about
kind of homeless, only our kind of homeless.
Right. You have to sleep where we
It's
stay.
it's like a turf war.
All right. So, Richard, what about these homeless people?
Well, they had signs that said housing is a right and housing should be for everybody, but yet they're homeless. They're not contributing to society.
Mm-hmm.
They're poorly educated. They have a bunch of mental problems. And now the mayor and some of the people that are on the city council, they're proposing turning abandoned hotels and abandoned apartment houses into what they're calling low-income housing.
Why is there so much of that in Albuquerque? Just like abandoned hotels. Like they already did that with a abandoned jail.
They're doing that here in Keene.
Really?
It's going to be a new building that's being constructed.
That is a privately run homeless place.
Yeah.
He's talking about the government
State-run,
taking over hotels that are quote-unquote abandoned. It sounds like, Richard, you're a critic of this idea.
Well, yes, I am, because I just bought a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath house for $285,000.
Damn.
And last year, the property tax on that house was over $2,800.
Wow.
I'm a property taxpayer, and probably some of this money I'm going to be paying in property taxes will be going to take over these abandoned hotels and abandoned apartment houses, and my property taxes is going to be used to support what they're calling low-income housing.
Yep, and you know what they're going to be doing in there? They're going to be smoking crack and drinking alcohol and taking their welfare checks and blowing it on really expensive stuff because that's their lifestyle.
And look what Richard has done for the homeless. He turned Sarah all the way around, and now she's a capitalist.
Yeah, Sarah used to be a complete homeless wreck, and now she's like talking about working again. So kudos to you, Richard, for the positive influence you've had on our Sarah.
In all honesty, though, I think that people who believe in this stuff is like they have their heart in the right place, but it just needs to be voluntary donations. Like if you care so much, donate, start something up.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And I have an issue with the housing is a right thing because it's really not a right. Like housing and food and all of that, they're not rights necessarily. Yes, they're
unless
essential,
you believe in slavery.
But it's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You need your food, your shelter, your water, but those are things you need to acquire yourself.
Yes. You have to spend time and effort.
Well, and this is the thing. So there's no self-responsibility. People aren't able to be self-sustaining, and then they rely on the government. So they're like, well, this is a right, so you have to pay for it. So I'm homeless, so you have to pay for my house, even though you pay for your own house. It makes no sense.
Well, it's like people that say you have a right to health care. That means that you would have a right to the human beings, and you're one of them, Nikki, you work in the industry, that you would have a right to Nikki's time and her effort because she decided she wanted to be a nurse. So now she's at your beck and call, and you don't have to pay for it. No, her time's valuable. She put time in learning this business.
But their rationale is, but she'll get paid. It'll
by
just
the government
be by
or whatever. Yeah,
everyone else paying.
Yeah, and that sucks. Because then they decide what you're worth.
Exactly. Well, so there's that, and then it's like, okay, so everyone else has to be stolen from to pay my paycheck.
Just everyone but me has to pay.
Yeah.
Right. Because the people who are saying housing is a right don't want to pay a dime for it. Yeah. They just want to have it for free.
It's very ironic. And a lot of these people who promote communism and these sort of concepts don't like paying taxes. Huh. Who would have thought of that? They don't like working, and they go out of their way to, they'll work under the table and stuff, but they go out of their way to not pay taxes, which obviously I think that's great, but don't be a hypocrite about it.
Stop demanding that other people pay for your habits or whatever. Richard, anything else you want to share?
Well, yes, my I have an older sister that cooks at a homeless shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And last week, they had a homeless person that was telling everybody that when they paid him what he thought he was worth to work, then he would get a job. And my sister pointed out to this homeless person that since he wasn't working and creating a better chance for himself, a better life to himself, that he really wasn't worth nothing right now.
Oh, that's mean.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but I get the viewpoint. I understand why people are frustrated with those people.
Maybe he means that she said his labor isn't worth anything because he doesn't have anything to offer, but not. I wouldn't say the human being is worth nothing.
There you go. Richard, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. Nikki, what is going on? He brought up the medical. We talked about medical freedoms and paying for things. What is happening with these doctors in Canada? Are they going to have to escape Canada?
They can try, but they might be trapped there if they're unvaccinated, because you can't leave the country if you're unvaccinated. But
can you even cross into? You could cross into the U.S., right?
Nope. I had a friend who was supposed to. She's from Canada.
Yeah.
She was supposed to come visit me and other people, whatever, in this area. This was maybe 6 months ago.
Okay.
It was, so, and she heard of another girl getting across the border. She couldn't get on a flight, so she drove.
Right.
Poor girl drove 6 hours to the U.S. border.
Okay.
And got turned around. They would not let her cross.
Let her in.
The U.S. would not let her in.
On
you can't enter the U.S. unvaccinated.
Oh.
Wow.
Unless you're a citizen.
I thought they got rid of that. That's crazy.
I don't think so. I mean, when she was trying to, she couldn't.
It was only 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so what's going to happen to these doctors now?
So, lawmakers in Canada are advancing new legislation that seeks to punish doctors with jail time if they are caught spreading so-called misinformation. The new legislation, Bill 36, Health Professionals in Occupations Act, will make it a crime for medical professionals to give their patients advice that conflicts with the government's official narrative.
Wow.
In what world are doctors not allowed to give advice? That's literally their job. That's why they went to medical school, so they would be qualified enough to give medical advice.
And when does the government become more qualified than doctors?
And they are the ones who will decide. The government doctors are the ones who will be dictating what is and what is not the one true way to health. We'll talk more about it coming up here in moments. The number is 603-283-6160. You can join us here on Free Talk Live.
This is novelist Tom Robbins. When my mother was diagnosed with glaucoma, her conservative Virginia physician told her there was only one treatment that might ease her pain and save her eyesight. That treatment was medical marijuana, which he could not prescribe. I offered to get her some and teach her how to use it effectively, but my father objected because marijuana was against the law. So my mother, who loved to read and walk in nature, was condemned to grow cruelly, unnecessarily blind. Tragedies like this happen all the time, but they don't have to keep happening. To learn more about medical marijuana, call the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The phones are open here, and you can join us in the remaining moments tonight, which are here now. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
It's Nikki.
And Bonnie.
Join us online anytime over at freetalklive.com. We do have a chat server. You can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners over at chat.freetalklive.com. That's where you get the step-by-step instructions as to how to get involved on our Matrix chat server, which is an open source and federated free software that is free to use to you as well. So head over to chat.freetalklive.com. Nikki, you're just beginning to tell us what sounds like a really disturbing story. I mean, Canada has been, shockingly, I think, because when you think of Canada, you think, oh, those people are so nice.
Yeah.
But not the government.
Nope.
And it's been absolutely terrifying, the stories that have come out of Canada since the COVID madness has taken over there. We've seen businesses being destroyed and shut down, which of course happened in the United States as well. But it was like they were arresting business owners there during the crackdown, and maybe that happened in the U.S. here and there, but it seemed to be happening more often per capita in Canada. As you pointed out, they put in severe travel restrictions. You were not allowed to fly, and still, I believe, are not when it comes to if you have not been vaccinated. You had a friend who couldn't even travel across the border.
And I also know a lot of people that fled the country before those travel restrictions. Either they made it out in time before the travel restrictions were set in place, or they snuck out. But now they essentially can't go back, or they need to get a fake vax card or something, which a lot of people aren't willing to
crime.
risk.
That's like a felony.
There's that, and then there's also like the principle of it. It's like, I'm not going to pretend like, no, this is against my beliefs, and I'm not going to play your game and pretend I am when I'm not.
You don't want
That's
to
how I
live
feel
a
about
life
it.
that's not your life. You're just living for the benefit of these politicians. You're doing as you're told, and that's not fulfilling.
It's egging them
it's
on.
not.
So if you get a fake a passport, you're just going to be counted as one of the,
You're a
1,000 people that passed the border today, and you must have been vaccinated. You showed your vax ID.
Well, and that was a big reason why I thought I was going to be blacklisted from nursing forever. I just got fired from my job, and I was like, whatever. And luckily, I found a job who was okay with me being unvaccinated.
Well, haven't some hospitals been hiring people back?
Yeah. And also, I got news from my brother.
In the Air Force?
Yeah, he sent this thing that said Congress set to rescind COVID-19 vaccine mandate for troops. So he said,
I just feel so bad for the people who got vaccinated essentially against their will because they were terrified.
Thinking it was all they could do to save their job.
And now, it's really sad that people had to do that because who knows what the long-lasting effects of this thing are and who knows if they're reversible or not.
I do feel bad for people too, but people need to learn to not go against their will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a thing that people do to themselves, whether you like it or not. Like, you made the choice.
It's fear,
Yep.
You can't let fear take control of your life.
So now, if these doctors in Canada go with their will, they're going to possibly go into a prison cell. So how many doctors are we going to start seeing popping up in Canadian prisons now? So what's the proposal here? They're going to pass. They're considering. It hasn't passed yet.
Yeah.
But they're considering a law that would essentially make making any kind of medical recommendation outside of the state's approved, whatever their medical recommendations are, is going to be a crime.
And I don't know if this is specifically, the article is making it seem like this is specifically in regards to COVID.
Okay,
that's
where it starts.
That's where it starts, exactly. It could be in regards to anything. So the state-sanctioned medical authorities responded by threatening physicians with investigations and regulatory action if they put the public at risk with misinformation.
Well, and we saw some of that here too, where state medical boards would pull
losing their
licenses.
Yeah, so it's like,
that,
okay,
right?
do you lose your license? And, going to medical school, that's no small thing. It's expensive. It sometimes takes 10 plus years of your life. Wow. You build this whole career.
Just have it stripped from you in
for
one
some
day.
people, it's their life.
Yeah.
They might as well be in jail. You know
That's
what I mean?
Good point.
That's how some people feel. I mean, that's their passion.
I was going to say, I know some people that love practicing medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now, just 18 months later, these threats from medical authorities have evolved into a disturbing reality. The sweeping piece of legislation that has now emerged includes 2-year jail sentences for doctors who are deemed to be spreading certain types of false or misleading information.
Wow.
The new bill was approved by the legislature last Thursday and immediately received royal assent. I don't know what that means.
It's because they're still under England laws, so they have all kinds of
That's weird. I didn't know that.
Before you said it received royal assent, it went through what? The legislature?
That's what it says.
So it's been passed?
It's been passed. The new bill was approved by the legislature last Thursday.
What's the next step? If it's been assented to royally, does the prime minister have to sign off?
It now awaits a cabinet order to determine when the law comes into force. So it's passed.
It's done. Yeah. Wow.
A nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that defends the freedoms of Canadians, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, is raising the alarm about the bill.
And what was it, Bill 36? Was that
Bill
what it was?
36, HPOA.
Wow. Goodbye, whatever semblance of health freedom that you guys had left there in Canada.
It's scary. And it's mind-blowing to me because you hire a doctor to get medical advice.
Yes.
And this whole concept of the science is settled is so dangerous. Previously, scientists were seeking the truth, and that is just not the reality we live in. Because it's not just Canada. I mean, this is going on all over the world. And even though it's not as bad in the U.S., doctors are getting their licenses pulled. Doctors are getting their licenses pulled if they give too many, permission slips, essentially. I forget the actual word for it. But exemptions for patients if they have an adverse reaction to vaccines, if they have a legitimate medical exemption.
Sorry, I know you also get an allergic reaction when you get vaccines, but you got to get it anyway because I already gave out 20 this year or whatever.
It's crazy. And I've literally heard doctors say, it's okay if you had an allergic reaction last time you got the COVID vaccine. You either need to A, try a different one, or B, come into the emergency room to get it administered so we can, administer epinephrine or whatever when you go into anaphylactic shock or whatever. I mean, it's scary. Any other medication you're allergic to, You know, if somebody's allergic to penicillin, the doctor's not like, well, you need this antibiotic, so we
just
better
go to the ER and take it.
Yeah, we'll just give it to you anyways. I mean, that would never happen with any other vaccine or any other medication. So it really doesn't make any sense.
Yep, this is absolutely insane, and you're welcome to comment on it here. Let's go to the phones. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. You okay?
You talking to me?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is David in Huntsville, Alabama.
David, go ahead.
I just have a quick little comment about what you were saying.
Yes, sir.
With Canada and the United States.
Yeah.
And this COVID thing. They tout socialism, they tout communism as utopia. And then they bare their teeth and expose the lies.
Uh-oh. I don't know what's going on with your phone line, but there's some weird noises.
It was back when it happened before I called.
Yeah, I got to put you back on hold. I got to thank you for the call. We can't take you on a line that noisy, but I thank you for the call tonight.
But his point is taken, yeah. Like, as soon as they start implementing just a little bit of socialism, you realize how not a utopia it would be.
But no, the communists and the socialists love this because this is their opinion. You know, most of them share this opinion. And
You're talking about the Canadian bill?
Yeah. They love this being forced on people. They're like, oh, good, we're being saved from all of the crazy right-wing doctors.
The new science is only one opinion will reign.
Yes.
And if you don't agree with it, you're going to prison. I mean that's
it's just
nuts.
like, if we knew everything there was to know about medicine, we would have, like, no cancer, no, autoimmune diseases. We would... obviously, we don't know everything there is to know.
And it's always evolving. You know,
and how many times
protocols are always evolving.
Right. How many times have commonly held beliefs been completely reversed based on new scientific discoveries and the constant testing that science does?
Especially in medicine.
Yeah.
I mean, medicine and information in medicine is constantly changing.
But for that to happen, you have to have the freedom to develop a new opinion and then put that opinion out there and put it to the test.
Well, not when it comes to COVID.
Yeah. Now, Canada is saying, nope, you can't do that now.
And this is just really proof for me, as if I didn't already believe this, but this is concrete proof for me that I don't want to say none of this is real, but they clearly don't want to get to the bottom of whatever's going on with COVID and the vaccine.
No, you will.
They don't want to know the truth.
You will accept
it's already
the
settled.
diktats of your dear leaders. Out of time for tonight. Back tomorrow. You can join us between now and then. We're expecting Mark Edge to be joining us again on tomorrow night's show as well. See you online in the meantime at freetalklive.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens.